What's up, and welcome back to the channel. You're listening to Ninja Night. This is Chatterbox number 13. We are back again here on a Friday night, 7:30, a little bit later than normal. I will admit, it's now, 7:37. Couple of minutes late. You know yourself, guys, you can always be betting on one thing. Well, two things, I should say. Me being late, and these individuals in the media and other places looking to constantly and consistently lie to you. So these are two things that you're absolutely certain of in life, I should say. You've got me being late and you've got them talking absolute nonsense. Now, we've got an absolute humdinger of a show for you tonight. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get through some of the comments first of all. What I want to say is, in the next week or so, I am going to be uploading these to podcasting formats. So, they'll be on wherever you listen to a podcast. I asked for a couple of suggestions last week and I was absolutely met with brilliant suggestions from people. A lot of people were saying Spotify and iTunes. So, I think that that's where this is going to go next because, as it had been said by a couple of people that are following the channel, they were like, why not cover every corner in the market? And I said, well, do you know what? That absolutely makes sense. And I totally 100% agree with you, especially when I'm seeing these podcasts that are out there, these spoofers that are out there that don't want to talk about very important and pertinent things. They want to talk to you about ridiculous things, to be quite honest with you. And these people that have been promoted by what I've noticed, one company in particular, and then they're doing a little circuit as well around a couple of different news stations, and they're getting a lot of positive press. Now, these same individuals don't have an awful lot of likes on the likes of Facebook pages. I think my Facebook page, which I don't promote at all, has something in and around 49 likes, which isn't bad. Official Ninja Night, if you're interested in over on Facebook. And I'm going to post a lot more videos up on that Facebook page because here's the thing. I keep talking about Gab, and Gab is very important, and I think it's gotten a lot of people across to it, which is very important because you're learning new information you wouldn't see elsewhere. But the likes of the normies, they ain't seeing the likes of Gab, and a lot of them as well are being kept on these other places. That's why the acquisition of Twitter, whilst it is on shaky ground still, because you see the likes of myself hasn't been reinstated yet. Now, there's some very important news that came out about that today, so I do think that my reinstatement might happen fairly soon. Hopefully, we shall say, because, like I said, it's covering different corners of the market, and if you can just expand upon that, the more the better. So that's why I'm going to be posting a lot more on Facebook going forward, because at least then people that are out there can share it, and maybe some normie friends might see it. And again, it might be people that don't like it, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind people coming in and listening to this stuff and saying, I don't like it at all. But at the very least, there's people being woken up. I got a comment there during the week on one of the videos that I did, in particular the World Cup in Qatar, about the American journalist Grant Wall. And one of the comments I got underneath it, now I can't remember who sent it, so I do apologize. But if you're in the chat, do let me know. And they were saying about them sending the videos onto friends of theirs, and they were like, oh, my friends are getting depressed, they're getting upset when they see these videos. And I said, that's definitely not the emotion I would be feeling if I had been tricked into taking stuff that A, didn't work, and B, seems to be causing very serious problems ad nauseum. And this is only year one. A lot of people like to just gloss on past that fact that this is only year one. What's going to happen year 2 and 3? You know, they keep talking about reducing carbon, and by 2030, you're entering into 2023 now. And these people are starting to get a bit panicked because they're starting to understand that the information is being wrestled away from them, and it's been promoted by people on our side of the fence who are talking about rationale, are talking about logic, and are talking about facts. And that's been wrestled away from these people. So that's why you're seeing an awful lot of, say, for example, hit pieces coming out. You've seen one in the times.co.uk not too long ago talking about people being far this in Ireland, you know, nationalist patriots. This is what they're talking about. And I mean, a British publication talking about that really says it all, doesn't it? But what happens is there, a lot of people look at it and say, oh, who's involved there? Great. Have a look and see what they're doing. So it's working well for our side of the fence. And this is why, while Elon Musk hasn't done absolutely wonderful things yet with Twitter, the acquisition of it and the fact that there's more information getting out there on that platform does mean an awful lot. You're starting to see an awful lot of these big tech companies and people behind them now are starting to get very, very nervous because they can see the proceedings happening in the legal system, and even so much here in Ireland, because you see the constant media pressure from our side of the fence and people pressure as well from being outside. Massive shout out, by the way, to Ferg that does be outside and was outside Mountjoy nearly every day, every week, from what I understand, that he was out there. And public pressure ultimately I think helped out what went on there. Now we'll talk about that story there during the stream. So what I'll do before I do that, I'll jump into the comments. I know Derek McManus that's in the chat there already has already said if you have a question or a comment at Ninja Knight in the comments, I would very much so appreciate that, Derek. Thanks very much, because I always forget. It's now 6 minutes into the stream and I always forget that. So I would very much appreciate it on that. This week as well, you're going to hear me, I usually do, and I usually try to do it, read out the titles of some of the articles that I'm reading, but I will do it more so increasingly, because if I'm going onto a podcast and stuff like that, it means then that people can recognize what I'm talking about, rather than being like, look at this article and look what they're saying here, and that's why I'll be talking about a title. Quick speak there then before we get in. So we've got Derek McManus says, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ninja Knight pre-Christmas live stream. 2 days away from Christmas. There'll be people joining into this, by the way, that won't realise that this is a stream that generally focuses on Ireland. There'll be people out there that'll be like, oh, you know, the HasLab Victory Saber was cancelled by Zabi. What's he talking about? He's talking about Transformers. No, this is not what these streams focus on. Listen, I'd be more than happy to go back to what I was doing originally, which was talking about ridiculous things like movies and entertainment and toys and all that. But a lot more people were very much so more interested in what was going on politically in the landscape. And the politicians only have themselves to blame, along with the media, because they have made more people turn and look at what they are doing. Now, yours truly believes that that is a great idea, because I think that more people become interested, and I think that the likes of our wallets and our bank accounts getting lighter is going to stop at some stage, because we are in the throes, by the way, don't forget this, we're in the throes of a regime panicking. You are seeing widespread panic amongst all of these people across the world that are in the one club, in the forum, as it were. And these people are actually proudly putting these signs up, whilst also at the same time telling you that they don't know anything about the forum and don't know about anybody that's in it. Seems hypocritical, doesn't it? Now, here's the thing. What's very important is people are now recording things when they're out in public places, and they are recording individuals. There was one individual there, allegedly, speculatively, of course, because you have to play the game. Allegedly, speculatively, there was one individual that was running around East Wall saying it was East Wall for all. This is what this individual was saying. And through the beauty of the internet, because these people haven't banked on that, this individual that was running around saying East Wall for all, while he was confronted by people from East Wall, actually from East Wall, he was saying, oh, well, you know, we're not an NGO or anything like that. Well, it seems to me, from what people have digged into, that this guy is a member or a part of the Irish, what was it, Refugee Council or something like that, one of these things. And it's like, well, actually, you are part of an NGO then. You didn't just get those flyers from nowhere. And that's why all these people don't want to go on camera, by the way. This individual obviously fancies himself a little bit. It's like, I've no problem being on camera, but why are you recording me? Well, it's for people there to go, I know what that dude is, I know who he's involved in, and he doesn't sound like he's from East Wall whatsoever. So yes, pre-Christmas live stream, and you know, I'd be talking about what I'd be talking about here in the stream, and it's very easy for people to get bogged down as well. But you have to remember this. We're on the winning side. We're accumulating victories as time moves on, and that's how you got to look at these things. You really got to look at it like that. We've got part of a 101 Force of Toronto What Patriots. Irish Reds in here. The Santa Claus emojis. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see the Santa Claus emojis. Do you know what is a good thing to see as well, by the way, guys? The amount of people that are very much so interested out there in getting involved with Christmas traditions, and it's definitely making a comeback now, and it's becoming, in my view, I think, less commercialized. Like, you're hearing about an awful lot more people been wanting to be together, and I think that's a good thing, you know. Now, on the same token, I won't be letting people that have have tried to discriminate and actively did. I won't be letting them forget that. That's just me. Herbert Ryan is in here, says hello, Ninja, Derek, and live chat. Eric Griffith says, yes, lads, good to see it. Barvin 1014. The country with the blue and yellow flag has never worked towards Irish sovereignty, and Russia's never worked against Irish sovereignty. Unlike the British and EU, why should we fall for the proxy? We are not a member. Absolutely, 100%. Shouldn't have any interest in what's going on over there. Peter Gray says, all right, Ninja, a long time no see. Good to see you. George Sturdy's in here, says, hi. Peter Gray says, new avatar looks crap. I've seen Dave Cullen put up a video as well saying, I have to look at the video, but I've seen the title and it was like, oh, it's not great. That's not what Dave said. I'm just paraphrasing here, by the way. But it seems to me with some of the weird comments that James Cameron is making as well, it's just like, he's talking about, what was he talking about? He was talking about testosterone being a bad thing. And I was like, Okay, well, it seems like your comments are just as dated as your movie is going to be in terms of this was a 10 years apart, the sequel, and an awful lot of people ain't remembering that first movie. So, anyway, you're way behind. Way behind. Uh, Dark Man says two constants in life attacks, and you go out with a nurse at some point in your life. Now he's saying it a bit differently in the chat, but you know yourself with this platform. Donald Owen says, "What's up, Ninja and chat? Happy Christmas, everyone. Happy Christmas indeed." Spiritus Monday says, "Howdy, Ninja and chat. Happy Christmas to all of your families. We made it through another year. What's another year?" As Johnny Logan said, "God bless." This is the second winter of severe illness and passings, and you know yourself, guys. Anyway, by the way, did you notice that the flu has made a comeback? It's like a Rod Stewart reunion tour or whatever like that. It's made a serious comeback, and everyone's shocked. They're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this." Although I'm saying that, from what I've heard from a lot of people as well too, this flu this year is on a different level. Blue Ground One says, "One by one, Rick Mail last film before he passed." Rick Mail was a base individual, and you know what's been very interesting is to see the account of Damo and Ivor. Damo and Ivor has been doing very good things. Now that's one fella that plays both characters, but he's someone that will have inside knowledge about the likes of Renews and the company as a whole. He'd be very an interesting person to talk to, and absolutely 100%. If anybody knows him out there, I'd be very interested to talk to him and have him on a live stream, because I think the more people that are talking to each other, the better. You know, you got a lot of people as well, by the way, and people that I've actually defended over the last couple of years, and you would say to them, "Come on to a live stream," and they don't have any interest in coming on because you know you're not going to be asked hard questions. But they go out to other places and you're looking and going, that's more fake opposition there. Anyway, so anyway, we'll keep going. Luke Mitchell's in here, says, "Howdy from County Galway." A lot of nonsense going on in Galway. There's a lot of increasing, threatening behaviour from a lot of people that are there, and seems to be some serious question marks being asked around Galway now at this stage of the game. Let's keep going. We have Emmanuel Godson that's in here that says, "Hey fellas, good to see you here." Emmanuel Godson. Fanara Murku says, "Hey everyone." Lord Tots in here says, "Merry Christmas and Happy New Year." Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you indeed. Derek Manister says, "Second channel for the pop culture stuff in Ninja." Well, I thought about doing that, but you know what? I just said, it's a bit too much. I just said I'll just leave it on the one channel. The channel is interesting. The Leo Varadkar video is climbing towards 10,000 views, which is very interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it hitting the 10,000 mark, which I'm sure it will. But I think videos like that, and something that about the platform, that's why I appreciate everybody coming in here and listening to this this Gonzo production stream, because I know it's setting down time for yourself and people that are watching the replay and people that might watch over a couple of days. Thank you very much. I know it's setting down time, because here's the thing: society has evolved. It was something I was looking at. Andrew Tate was talking about during the week, and he was like, "Society has changed." He said it's gotten dumber, which it has, and he says like you used to have 10-minute, 11-minute, 12-minute YouTube videos. And he said, and they'd be watched, they'd be highly viewed. He says now you're seeing these YouTube shorts like TikTok, 10-second, 15-second thing, because people are being trained for their attention spans to be greatly lowered. And that's exactly what's happening. You know, the way like yourself and myself, I remember something that was said maybe from a year back, or I might have a video and I say, "Well, I remember that now," and I can bring that back again. There's people that are out there that don't realize that at this point in time last year, they want you to go around with a QR code on your phone to access places, to access the likes of a pub. And at the same time, the media were debating amongst themselves, throwing out little fish hooks, as it were, out there to be like, do we think we should forcefully give people these things? That's only last year. That's only 12 months ago. You know what I'm saying? And that's the goldfish brain memories that they want people to have. They want you to forget about that and go, "Oh, we just pass on past that." No, we won't. We also won't be forgetting about the fact that what you've done for the last, 3.5 months there, you've incarcerated a man ultimately because he wouldn't agree to a court order that stems from complete and utter nonsense. That's ultimately what that was about. But you still had him incarcerated for 3.5 months. But yet there's memo files running around the streets being given suspended sentences. You know what I'm saying? Things not starting to add up. And that's a good thing, I think, for the large majority of the population, because they're also slowly but very surely starting to look around and say to themselves, there's major issues happening here and we need to get to the bottom of them very quickly. Now, you're out to seeing the cabinet reshuffle, by the way, over the last week or so. And I think that has got an awful lot to do with the big news story that happened during the week, obviously with regards to Enoch Burke. Now, great to see him out. but shouldn't have happened at all. Should never have been put into jail. Absolute ludicrous stuff that you're looking at here in this country. Now, what we're going to start off with is, and I'm going to have to refresh the page, I think, because I think that was the last thing that I put up before that. Sometimes, as well, by the way, when you're doing this, you have to just refresh the page. So that means that Gab updates because of a story here that's at the beginning that I want to just kind of land home with people. And again, it's, you know me, I like to be on the light-hearted side of things I do, but I also want to let people know what's going on. So this here is a give, send, go, and this is for baby Alex. This is. Now, what this is relating to is a pair of parents. Well, I should say one parents, you know what I mean? One group of parents, well, I should say two parents, because you know what's going on. As a matter of fact, you know that Netflix Wednesday show, they talk about one child in it and they're like, you know, his two moms. You're looking at it going, what? What are you talking about? No such thing. Anyway, what I have here is a give, send, go. Now, this is something that is given towards a fund towards two people, the parents of a young boy, and in particular, there Alexander. His name is Alexander Bloy, and it's a legal fund for Cornelia Hertzler. Is her name. Now, what happened was they have gone to a hospital, and their child was born with a congenital heart defect and a breathing difficulty, and this is very similar to another story I'm going to show you tonight, and I think I might have talked about it previously as well too, about New Zealand. And they went to the hospital. They were initially mocked and ridiculed because they had asked the hospital, listen, we want, you know, red stuff that is not, you have to dance around it, red stuff that isn't from people that have followed Voldemort. Okay? The hospital mocked them and then did the procedure, said that they didn't give any sort of transfusion whatsoever, and then after the fact then decided to give a transfusion with Voldemort's red stuff, as you know. The boy is now no longer with us. So I know that there's people out there that will say, well, listen, congenital heart defect, breathing issues, and then there's that. But this is a very serious question that is starting to be asked now. Now, these people are based in America, from what I understand, which is very different to what just happened in New Zealand. New Zealand decided to forcefully take custody of two people's child and to do the exact same thing, more or less. Now, I don't know, and as an aside, just by the way, because I'm not linking this into anything, I'm not linking it in, just saying this, I'm just saying I enjoyed the show. I very much so enjoyed the show, The Terminal List, and the character in particular of James Reese. I just wanted to just put that out there. It's a very good show. It's a very good entertainment piece. I think that was done by Amazon, which is very surprising because some of their other stuff isn't good whatsoever. Anyway, going back to this story, because that's totally unrelated, I just wanted to tell you that that piece of entertainment is very good. What I'm saying to you is this, is hospitals now are starting to do things like this, and more people are starting to ask questions, and they're starting to say, hang on here for a second, I've got a line of donors that are interested here to be part of this that haven't taken anything here, and the hospitals are just throwing themselves forward into these things. Hopefully there's going to be massive litigation with regards to this, and hopefully these hospitals, now I mean, I'm talking about litigation and legal standpoints for these people. It's ultimately not going to bring the person back, and I'm not going to hover on this story for too long, because to be quite honest with you, it's something that infuriates me to no end, because I'm not going to state what I would do. So anyway, you've got that story that's out there now, and in fairness to Cornelia Hertzler and her partner, they're actively going out there and they are talking to whoever will listen to them. And I seen one clip in particular that they talked about their child and the situation that happened for about 40 odd minutes on Twitter. Now, that wouldn't have happened pre the acquisition of Elon Musk. That just wouldn't have went down. What would have happened was that would have just been memory holes. That story wouldn't have happened at all. But they're very interested, by the way, because this is what I just want to show you about the media. The media are very interested in telling you about the situation that occurred in New Zealand. They want to tell you that a government forcefully took custody of a child for the child's greater good, as they are saying. So they are trying to supersede the parents, and it is wild to think that. In no way, shape, or form should that be happening at all. New Zealand is a failed society right now, and it is a place that is in need of serious change. Now, you know as well too that the individual that's cosplaying as a woman that's running the show there, you know how bad things went over there, And this is the type of stuff that they want to roll out across the place. And this is particularly why they want to have women in charge. They want to have this person that's an agreeable person in charge, and someone that's going to smile and absolutely 100% tell copious amounts of lies, and then after the fact say, "Oh, I didn't know." That's not to say men don't do that, but as you quite very much so understand, people are a little bit softer when it comes to women. You look at, for example, 1930s, 1940s Germany, or even any other moment in history where you have people, particularly men, and then you have, for example, there Ava, and people are a little bit more kind. Well, I wouldn't say a little bit more kind, far more kind to Ava than anyone else. You know what I'm saying? So this is what happens, and these type of things are just going to recycle themselves through history, and that's why, as you can see, look at who's the second in line in America. Look at who's the second in line in and around, hanging around there in Britain. Look at who's the second in line that's very much so hanging around and has been hanging around here in this country, and now you've got one that's being pushed very much so by the media. Gotta look at that. Now we've got Simon Harris, TD, who is the new Minister for Justice. So after this cabinet reshuffle, now I will say this, I was only talking about this with the dad there not too long ago, and I said to him, "Here, listen," I said, "new cabinet after being announced there, a bit of a reshuffle, and strangely enough, Enoch Burke is now out." I don't know about you guys, but certainly it seems like maybe either the media pressure or the fact that Helen McEntee is no longer in that position, that they could give him an out without kind of, like, you know what I mean, upsetting her, or maybe looking at it as a, well, she's going to be brought back into the fold at some point in time. But anyway, under Harris's watch, he's actually gotten out. So I mean, has that got something to do with Simon Harris? Who knows? You know what I mean? And listen, I'm not one to be giving any sort of credit and towards Simon Harris, but it does seem like a good PR thing for them to do straight out the gate. But here's something that's been happening over the last couple of days, and the media have been desperately trying to avoid naming who's involved. And it's about Rathkeil, and you'll see a lot of the information. They're trying to talk about this as, you know, little as possible. But at the same time, it's been talked about on other forums. You know, you'll have the likes of Eileen and Flynn standing up and trying to string sentences together, trying to string multiple sentences together for her is very difficult. But you'll have people that are like her standing up going, "I need reputation, and I need to be talked about, and listen, it's good for us to be her." And you'll be looking at them going, "Right, hang on for a sec. Could we not get someone even a little bit more articulate and definitely with a higher IQ there than you? I mean, you're a very poor representative." When he shit talk and he just catches it, representative for your people, are you not? Again, not a public speaker, you know yourself. So what you've got here is Rathkeil being talked about, and actively at the same time them trying to be like, we're not going to name who's involved. Oh, hang on here for a second. You've decided not to play that game for the last couple of years. You've decided to call people far this and far that, and you've decided to call people white this and white that. How come you're not noting the fact that this seems to be people that are travellers? When I say seems to be, I think the overwhelming majority of videos that have come out there and images from other accounts and people just in general, because citizen journalism is alive and kicking. I also seen another video, by the way, as well. Great shout out as well to the people of Wexford. I seen a Wexford video there that was put up. I think it was in, I think Derek Bly put it up, and it was them talking to the likes of the people. You know these people that have come from allegedly Romania. You know those people that are allegedly from Romania that like to hang around the odd dress a certain way, and yet the police won't ever move them on. I seen a video from Wexford. Obviously, I can't share it here on this platform. You know what I mean? But it actually was like, well, this is interesting times ahead anyway, because this is happening across towns in Ireland. Anyway, moving on to this. I travelled to Rathkeil today to meet with local Gardaí and community leaders. Gardaí have been assured of my full support in their efforts. The investigation is active. I would encourage anyone with information to come forward to assist. So a nice little PR stunt here as well to get the picture as well, which a man that's dressed like someone else. Star Trek. The uniforms are absolutely horrific, lads. You know what I mean? What were you thinking? But at the same time, a little bit of PR, and they're not talking about who's involved. You can bet your bottom dollar. And this is also what I want to say, and I want to show you how the media works as well. Look at what happened at the National Party Ardèche, okay? If that was any other party, let's make no mistake about this, there would be headline after headline about a threat to our democracy. Is what happened to the National Party not a threat to our democracy? You might not like what they say, but they have a right to say it. The same way that these lefties come out and say things that are completely and utterly, in my opinion, abhorrent, and they should be very seriously looked at, considering what you're starting to see coming out of America, which will make its way across here, by the way. Fellas in dresses and all that telling you that they want to talk to their kids. That's ultimately what it's all about. How come, calling a spade, you can't do that, but on the flip side, these people are like, well, actually, you know, we're not going to talk about who's involved. The fact that you don't talk about who's involved makes me more suspicious. Because if this was someone that was out there waving the likes of a tricolour, they'd be in every headline, they'd be talking about it in every single post, and they wouldn't be off the radio talking about it. But they kept this done. But then you see the memes, and the memes are getting out there, and it's great to see. You've got the president of the blue and yellow country visiting the frontline Syria of Rakil. This is absolutely brilliant. By the way, anyway, anyone that's seen this dipshit running around America, and you see him in the olive green fatigues and all that, like, he's still playing a role. He's like John Cena when John Cena got the role of peacemaker. He went around every chat show, was walking around, only short of him walking around the street in the peacemaker outfit because he was out there playing a role. This is the exact same thing that this goof is doing here. You know, it's really interesting to see. The memes are getting out there, though, hilarious. And also then what you start to see is you've got the likes of the urinal here that talk about what's going on in Limerick, in Rathkeale, but the comments are off because they know exactly what would be said in the comments, and they know that people would identify who was involved, and they would identify that it seems allegedly, speculatively, to be one group. That at the same time you're being told, listen, you can't talk about the negative behavior of that group. Well, why not? Because is that not pertinent? And when you look at the activity of that one group, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying everybody knows who to be wary of in society before the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you're supposed to be like, oh no, we shouldn't think like that whatsoever. Calling a spade, you know what I'm saying? Absolute nonsense. This is something that I like to see from people, and I think ultimately, you know, there's a number of things that happened this week, and I think that this was probably one of the bigger things. You know, as I said, I was talking about this with the Boy, and I said there was a couple of things that happened in the last week or so. Shuffle. You also had then Enoch Burke not wanting to take basically what was a temporary release, which he was right not to do in my view, because again, how ludicrous is that? And by the way, the media are out there telling you that 130 people have been temporarily released over Christmas. What did they do? I mean, are they in there for a specific negative reason? And how come they're back out on the streets? I mean, that's a very different thing, because you wanted to talk about Enoch Burke not wanting to call a boy a day, but you're not telling me who the 130 people are that are coming out onto the streets are. You're not telling me what type of crime that they've been involved with, but they're just being released. I mean, what a clown world of a country. And don't forget, by the way, because again, people have the tendency to have a short memory. Don't forget what they did at the beginning of the sniffles. They released prisoners from prison, people that were offenders, real offenders, not like Enoch Burke, real offenders, real real tour boards that were sent out, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's ground out there now, the sniffles." You know what I'm saying? On you go. This is what our government did. So a couple of things happened this week. There was a protest that was held outside Wilson's Hospital School, and I think that was the beginning of a very, I think, concerted effort that I think the school wanted to stay away from, and also then the judicial system wanted to stay away from. Because don't forget, this has been reported by big YouTubers, it's been reported by the Quartering, it's been reported by Crowder, it's been reported by Salty, it's been reported by nearly everybody. So if these people brought it to the school, which is something that is going to be seen and people are going to be looking at it, again, I will refer back to the fact that parents, where were they during all of this? Because why are you allowing this sort of stuff happen? Because you're looking at this situation and you're saying to yourself, it's not me, doesn't matter. Well, it's gonna be you in a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years when something happens that you don't agree with, and yet they want you to be put in to jail due to your opinion. And not only is it an opinion, it's an opinion based in science and in facts. Now, again, I know some people would be chomping at the bit, as they always are, to say, well, it was because you broke a court order. But here's the thing, the court order stems from the fact that he wouldn't call a boy a day. Oh my God, he was confrontational with his boss. Listen, the reason why, in my opinion, humble opinion, speculatively, allegedly, the only reason why, speculatively, allegedly, that was perceived as confrontational was because Enoch Burke is a man and the former principal happened to be a woman. I don't know about you, but that seems like it worked in that favour, in my opinion. But to me, seeing this here now is good news. And I think with the PR disaster that this had, which was and again, I'll get on to what's the most important point in the moment. You have a reshuffling cabinet. You have people now starting to protest outside the school. You have Enoch Burke himself denying the temporary release that they wanted to give him. And then you've got him then refusing to bend the knee to these people. And that is the most important thing that I want you to remember. He refused to bend the knee. There was people out there, and there has been for the last couple of months, that were saying, just go back on your word, just look for mercy, just look for wherever you can get to get out, and just even pretend that you agree with them to get out. And he said no. So public pressure and the fact that it was getting so much media attention and coming up to Christmas, by the way, to hold a Christian over Christmas would have been a disaster for these people, particularly when people are looking at the judicial system and, like myself, can point and say, hang on here, there's a memo file that's after being given a suspended sentence, but the dude that won't call a boy a day is sitting inside a jail cell. How ridiculous is that? And the more times that happened, the last couple of videos that I did as well too got decent views. Now, I'm not saying it was anything to do with me. I absolutely don't believe it was anything to do with me. But the more people that started to look at that and started to remember and look back and go, I'm not forgetting about that guy. This is the end result then, which was people standing outside the hospital school, as it's called, Wilson's Hospital School, and decided to protest and bring attention towards it. So fair play to everyone involved. Fair play indeed to Ferg. He was the top man that I've seen through all of these things. And a massive credit goes towards Enoch Burke, because in this culture, and you know what that's been thrown around and bandied as well too, because you have to look at certain words, by the way. It begins with W and ends with R. In this culture situation that we're in, that is a massive victory for our side and for people in general. And not just when I'm saying our side, but common sense and rationale has actually prevailed. This is great to see. Sun cab is, we'll go back again. Now, like I said, what ends up happening there is people see the signs on the way out and they go to themselves, okay, right, it's easy to ignore this at Mountjoy. It's easy to forget about that. But now people are starting to turn up outside the gates, and this is going to get more and more increasingly individuals that are going to come to this. They are going to decide to come down and they're going to spend a bit of time outside. Yeah, we don't want that, you know. And then there's also then the fact that they still have the disciplinary hearing going ahead, which to me, I think Enoch Burke has played an absolute masterful performance here, I would say, for the future, because these people, in my opinion, speculatively, allegedly, would have been very interested in terminating his employment only for the fact that this went so public. They would have, in my opinion, again, allegedly, speculatively, they would have had that guy out of his position. Now, because he caused such a media fervor around it and so much interest, I think, now it remains to be seen, it could be proven wrong on this, anything can happen from here on out. But the bottom line is this won't go away. This is not going to be the end of this. And these people have greatly overplayed a hand that they thought that they had. These people thought they had this sewed up. They thought they were just going to incarcerate this fella and it was going to go away. No, it wasn't. This group was only going to grow with the amount of people that were there. And it was going to become more and more apparent. Again, as I said before, shame on the parents as a whole that didn't decide to support them. Because what you've decided to do is you've decided to buy into something that is not a reality, that is not a fact, that is not based in science, and ultimately a man is sitting in jail because of that. So fair play to everyone involved. Now let's have a look at this here. This comes from a notice board. These Christmas carol singers were just in my estate there by the graveyard going around to all the doors. Didn't come to mine as my mother pulled in as they were walking around. It's gone from 2 men or 2 women to now a family walking with their teenage children. One was wearing a Santa hat to look legitimate. Be careful and don't open the door unless you're expecting people. Look up during the day as they are looking for ways in. I don't know about you, but these seem to fit a very certain profile, you know? And funnily enough, more and more of these individuals have just seemed to pop up everywhere. Have you also noticed, and this is something as well too, that's probably, the East Wall thing, I think, is a lot of problems all mixed into one. But can you imagine seeing massive Georgian buildings that people used to live in, and you're from East Wall and the surrounding areas, you know what I mean, like Dominic Street or whatever, Hardwick Street or whatever it might be, and you're seeing people of a certain, allegedly, speculatively origin of Romania coming out of these places that have the place absolutely upside down and filthy. And you're looking at that going, yeah, my child can't live here. My child has to go out and live in the likes of Meath, And I mean, listen, people that are listening here from Meath to be like, what's wrong with Meath? I'm saying that people that are from an area are being pushed out of the area, and yet houses and apartments and places are being given to people, certain individuals, by the way, that seem to bring the area down. Not seem to be, but absolutely do, in my humble opinion. And this is what you've got here now. You've got people then allegedly, speculatively, scoping. I don't know about you, but when you see the likes of Gardaí putting out through the media like that, they're at an all-time high of calls and people getting them out and house intruders and burglaries and all. You very much so live in what's soon to be a very failed society. Like I said before, and I said in a previous stream, when you have someone that I know that is a very strong supporter of Sinn Féin, actively admitting that that Dublin is lost, you've got big problems on your hands. Because if you were telling me that you have to go away from civilization to feel somewhat safe, that's not good. You now live in a place that you can no longer tender going forward. And it's only going to get worse. The place is going to be like Gotham City. It's already on the way to being like Gotham City. And when I'm saying that, I'm talking about the north side of the city. Because you know what's become very apparent to an awful lot of people out there? They've become very apparent to the likes of Dalkey, Dunleary, and these places that don't seem to have any sort of people hanging around them. That don't seem to be having people shoved into these places hands over fist. Well, I should say hand over fist. You know what I'm saying? And also with relation to people that similarly dress like this, I was talking not too long ago about this to a Romanian friend of mine, and he was talking about it, and he said, "Listen, this place is in a bad state." He's like, "I can see these people coming over, and these people are becoming more and more apparent on streets." He said, and these people then as well also like to get involved in activities, and it's just gonna go from there. And the fact that Ireland hasn't decided to get, deporting, he says, and get on top of it. He's like, this is in big trouble, this place. And he also pointed out the fact of, hey, none of these people are living in Dalkey, none of them are hanging around Dunleary. You know what I'm saying? They might very well be hanging around the likes of Dunleary, but I'm talking about, more affluent places. As an aside, by the way, this friend of mine is Romanian, just to put it out there. Not about talking about Tay. So this fella, has a couple of kids and that, and one of the kids came over to me, he was talking away and greeted me with, "All right, top G." And I looked and I said, "What did you just say?" And the kid just kind of looked and was like, I said to him, "Did you call me top G?" And he said, "Yeah." And I says, "You're watching Andrew Tate, eh?" He was like, "Yeah, I know, yeah, I am." And I just talked to me mate and I said to him, "That's great to see." I said, "He's watching Tate." He's like, "Oh, do you think so?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is a guy," I says, "that's pushing forward masculinity." I said, "And he's giving people back the creative thinking that people used to have." And whether you agree or don't, at the very least, he's talking about all of the problems that are happening in different countries and why he's living where he is. And then he talks about Qatar. Like, very little crime, of any, in Qatar. And some of the solutions he has is great. Like, he was like, if you're offending the likes of Britain or whatever, he says, you get sent over to a jail in the scorching heat there in Qatar in the middle of nowhere. You get 1 meal a day and you're broadcast on the TV screen. He's like, people that think twice then about committing crimes, you know what I mean? And I was like, I can't disagree with that one. Don't disagree with that. Meanwhile, I have friends of mine that are Irish, and again, just shows you the difference a little bit in a way. Irish friends of mine, kids of theirs, what's the story? Oh, your man's interested in Fortnite, he speaks with an American accent, and you're looking and going, well, I think a man over here with the young fella there that's Romanian, I think he's gonna fare all right in life, but the other one over here, not so much, head in the clouds, We've got this fella here now that's out trying to put fear into people again. They've started to go back towards this narrative. This narrative has started to make a comeback, and again, this is going to take more people. And to me as well, by the way, don't forget, a lot of this is diversionary stuff, and they want to be pumping out fear for you to not only buy, but also to be talking about it and to prime you. Now, Leo Varadkar has already been on record and has actually quoted has been said, has actually said that there will be breaks and people will be given freedoms for a time, and then they'll go back to doing certain things. Now, again, I'm paraphrasing when I'm saying that, but you know yourself. Again, this fella's on the foreign websites, by the way, so it's no surprise nor shock. And the fact that nobody in his party have contested his leadership after the copious amounts of scandals that went on there kind of tells you everything you need to know about that party. But this is what they're going back towards now. Now, not too long ago, did this absolute coward of a human decide to post out a tweet that said, well, we just ran with the information that we had and public just decided to go with that. So it's really kind of on news. Again, paraphrasing on that one. But pushing it back on the public as to the reaction to the last 2.5 years. Stunning stuff, to be quite honest with you. I was absolutely bowled over. I was like, can you imagine having the audacity and the gall to post that out and basically blame the public for what you people did? And now they're back to it. Now, at the same token, none of these goofballs, because they've all been given the same script, by the way, none of these people that question the efficacy or the multiple meetings and hearings that are out there online that are actively from the company, the biggest one that they wanted to promote of all, that wanted to say, oh, everyone, it stops the law. That company beginning with P have actively told people, yeah, it doesn't stop transmission. So what's the point of that? Well, that's because a three-letter agency across America decided to change the definition of a Voldemort. That's what they've done. They've actually done that in the last couple of years. They changed the definition of Voldemort, I think, twice in the last 5 years. Outrageous stuff. And again, like I said, when you talk to people and say to them, like, what do you think there is? Oh, it's not supposed. It's supposed to help me and stop me being hospitalized. You're not in the bracket of people that got hospitalized for this, though. What's the bracket of people that got hospitalized for this? I don't know. People in their 80s. People are in their 80s or people that are severely obese. Are you one of the two? No, you're not. And people in their 80s, in my opinion, not to sound bad or anything like that, have had a good innings. Now, you're not morbidly obese, so you're all right. So why are you panicked about this? Now, not only that then, but these are the same people that were running around not too long ago telling you that 94% of the population had taken this. Meanwhile, a couple of months later, after they wanted to create a massive psyop to try and get people to take this stuff because they were under the cosh of going, I don't know if I'll have a job or I'll be able to go out ever again if I didn't take this. A lot of people weren't thinking that, by the way. A lot of people weren't thinking like that. Most people that had been pushed over and had been bullied for the last 2.5 years were getting very close to the edge. And I'm just saying to you that you were dealing with people that were, again, entertainment-wise, I'd like Rambo, I'd like First Blood. And that is a movie about a man that was pushed and pushed and pushed, and he just, for once and all, just said, do you know what? I'm not having any more of that. Now, again, this is why you don't broadcast what happened in Sri Lanka or the aftermath there. It's why you don't broadcast about Afghanistan and the aftermath of what's happened there. By the way, it seems to be the people that have taken over in Afghanistan have had a very low crime rate. Seems to be working out not too well over in America when you've decided to do the very opposite. You know what I mean? And again, here in Ireland, because to bring it home, we've decided to bring in, and this is something they're saying in the media, by the way, there's 200 less recruits than expected of Gardaí. So 200 people down. And that's before people get into the recruitment service and some of them decide whilst there, this isn't for me. So you're down a savage amount of people. And then this sort of stuff is coming out here. Now, when he's talking about 625 cases in hospital today, from where? Who are the people that are still testing themselves? If you've taken 2, 3, 4 of these things, why are you still testing yourself? Not only that though, but there's actual medical journals that are out there now that are telling you that they can't discern. I showed them last week. They can't discern between the, what would you say, the China sniffles. They can't discern between the flu, and they can't discern between RSV. They don't know the difference between those three. So what are you talking about? 19 people are in ICU. Here's the thing, guys, by the way, because this is the stupidity of a tweet like this. You were talking about as if this is going to be some sort of problem. Well, how come they're inadequately prepared for what is in now wave 4? How come the likes of Paul Reed has been able to scuttle off into a new job, Tony Houlihan scuttling off into a new job, Micheál Martin scuttling off? How come these people have been allowed to do that and have spent billions? And none of them were interested in increasing the capacity of a hospital. I mean, this is why these people are not financially responsible and are fiscally ridiculous. And the fact that people permit this is beyond me. You have people like me, who is an absolute idiot, that's able to tell you, if you increase the hospital, stupid tweets like this go away because you're not worried about the capacity of the ICU because you'll have a massive hospital. Not going to be worried about it. This never got into massive digits, by the way. Never got into, as far as I know, in ICU, never got into over, from what I understand, 3 digits. And even at that, this country should have the ability to do that. It should have more than it needs, is what I'm saying. You should have more beds than you need. You should have more space than you need in a hospital. It makes sense to me. There's more space than what's needed in coffee shops. You know what I mean? And they are not needed, in my view. Now, again, the people in the chat that be saying to me here, listen, Ninja, that's ridiculous. That is, we like our coffee, we like our space. Granted, loads of space for that. They've had enough energy, by the way, the government, to make makeshift places in the likes of the ESB, but they haven't had the money, can't seem to find it. They can spend nearly 1 billion in foreign aid, whatever that means. Now, everybody knows that that's got something to do with money changing hands there. And they can also spend, allegedly, speculatively, they can also spend 3 billion on bringing people into this country, not of this land, but seem to not be able to find money to increase the size of hospitals. And you've got dipshits like this coming out making tweets like this, trying to scare people. Ridiculous stuff. By the way, there's a new thing that's been added to Twitter, and it means you can fact check these people you can and add notices to their posts. Guys, I'm not saying what you should do. And I'm not telling you what to do here, and again, I disavow anything or anything like that, and I'm not. But there's an ability to add notices to these posts now, so that people can look at them. And it even happens to Elon Musk, by the way. Elon Musk might put something out and notices added to the post, and it's like, well, actually, you know what I'm saying? The positivity rate in the last 7 days was 19.5%, up from 14.3% 2 weeks ago. Now, I've encountered people that have decided to do tests, and I've said the same thing to all of them. What sort of idiot are you? And they look and they go, what? Why would you do a test? Are you not quadruply done here? And they go, well, yeah, I just wanted to be safe. And I'm like, but you're the same person that doesn't give a shit if I told you I had the flu. You're the same person. But if you think it's the other thing that's extremely similar to that, you're like, oh my God, I don't know if you should go outside the door. Ridiculous stuff. Absolute clown mode stuff that you're saying. This fella really annoys me, he does, to be quite honest with you. I don't like him. Here's something else that you got here. You've got a blue check mark here. Paul Hosford. On its first day as Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar is at a Christmas lunch for 110 blue and yellow, allegedly speculatively flag-waving refugees organised by promoter Harry Crosby. Harry Crosby, now, what's he involved in? Was he involved with you too? Was he? Well, you know, it seems to be certain people seem to be in certain circles, don't they? And you've got the half-Indian Taoiseach of this country that's been given back power after scandal, has been given back power with there's been no consultation or anything like that with people whatsoever. And he's out there now having Christmas lunch with people that shouldn't even be in this country. You know? So Crosby, another one as well too there. You know, it would have been someone that would have been interested in the likes of Cromwell landing on the shores. You would have rolled out the red carpet for the likes of Cromwell Cromwell 2.0, lads. But you know who's not interested in rolling out the carpet for the likes of Cromwell 2.0? It's Conor McGregor. Now, this is probably the point in time where some people will be like, I'm talking about Conor McGregor. Listen, I want to make it abundantly clear. I don't agree with everything that Conor McGregor does, okay? And everybody knows that this fella's been in the spotlight before and he has been in negative headlines for negative reasons, right? But what happened during the week was very interesting to witness. What he did was he posted tweets like this. He was talking about the presidency of Ireland, and this is the type of fella. Now, I'm going to say this, right? And you're going to say, that's ludicrous ninja. This is the type of fella that you want in there in a position like that. You don't need Bertie O'Hearn. Do you hear me? I was thinking of Luke O'Neill there because he was next. You don't want Bertie O'Hearn in there as president. You don't want Luke O'Neill in there as president. By the way, these are the favourites for the next president, just to let you know. But Conor McGregor would throw a massive spanner in the works because what you would see, now I don't agree with him tweeting out things and deleting it. Now the reason why he does that just for people that are out there because the media like to always traipse on that. They like to go, now since deleting tweets. The reason why he deletes the tweets is so that you can't report him and that's how he doesn't get banned from Twitter. That's why. You know, yours truly knew about that a year ago, you know. Still not on the platform. But anyway, this is why he does things like this. It gets out, it gets screenshot, which he is very aware of, and then people say, oh, what was he talking about there? There you go. What happened during the week was, before this all happened, was PJ Gallagher, through somehow McGregor got involved in it, on the 10th of December, which predated any of the tweets that he made. PJ Gallagher, I'll show you some of the tweets down later on, probably do a video on it at some stage. There was a rankings that came out and was talking about UK fighters, and they put Conor McGregor on that. Now, as you know, not from the UK, it's from Ireland. And PJ Gallagher was like, they can have him. Now, PJ Gallagher will be running around along with Paul McGrath, I'm sure, very soon on the likes of the Late Late Show, telling you about, oh, look at me, mental health. Now, I just want to put this out there, just because I know people might say, I think I'm mocking it. Look at the people that are being pushed forward in front of you. Look at all of them, particularly here in Ireland. PJ Gallagher, Sir Steve O'Timothy, Paul McGrath, Rory Stories. What do these four fellas have in common? They all run around talking about mental health. I'm so sad. I'm really sad. I don't know how to get out of it. Look at the book that I've made. And I've put the book out now, and it's great to see people supporting it, and it's good for mental health. These are absolute betas, in my opinion. These are people that are going out there and are benefiting off of people feeling sad. That's not to say that they don't feel sad. But what I'm saying to you is, this is the type of people that they're pushing forward to be a masculine person. He talks about his feelings. No, hang on here for a second. Everybody knows that it's difficult to be a man. Everybody knows that. You're not given any advantage in life. Everything that a man has to get, he has to earn it. He doesn't get anywhere just being good looking. Fella that's good looking still has to earn it. Brad Pitt had to earn his stripes, had to get where he was, had to grind. He didn't just get there because he was a good looking fella. Look at Margot Robbie though, on the other hand. Margot Robbie gets to the position that she's in because you're like, oh, look at that. Very much so. Wolf of Wall Street made her. And she'd been previously on Neighbours. They picked her up. Oh, look at her. Great stuff. Not a wonderful actress. Look at Gal Gadot. Horrible actress. Wonder Woman. Fast and Furious. Why is she there? Good looking woman. Okay? Now again, good looking women and entertainment is what we should have. But what you've got out there on the flip side is what we used to have, which is Clint Eastwood's, John Wayne's, and various other people that were out there that used to be in the industry that were guys that promoted a masculine image, that promoted the likes of mental strength, because that's what is needed. And what they want to do with guys like that, and you've seen it very recently with the likes of Andrew Tate, they don't want them on those platforms. They don't want this guy on this platform. Bit different now since Elon's taken over. But these people decided to collectively come at him, between people that were fans of PJ Gallagher, fans of Paul McGrath, and indeed the system as a whole, decided to come after him because he decided to mock the likes of PJ Gallagher because he was talking about mental health. This is the type of person that they want to promote. They want to promote these little sad betas that want you to be in a little impoverished, little sad existence, instead of people that are out there that are like this fella, that have gone out there, and you might not agree with everything he does personally, and I certainly don't agree with everything that he does personally, but has gone out there and has won 2 gold UFC straps. But Italian 90 was great. It was, Paul McGrath. Did they win anything? No. He won nothing. PJ Gallagher. Is he one of the biggest comedians in the world? No. Look at the likes of Dave Chappelle. Not someone that goes out there feeling sorry for himself, goes out and has a laugh and has his way with the crowd. You know what I'm saying? These people are out there and they move forward. Look at The Rock, for example. As much as I don't like The Rock, a guy that went out there, he grinds, does what he does, and he's going to move past the fact that he's been booted as Black Adam. He's going to move on to something else. Henry Cavill did the exact same thing. I'm out of The Witcher because you've got feminist writers that are trying to run this stuff and they're trying to ruin it. Not interested in that. I'm back as Superman. A fella that has made tweets about kids is now running the show and has decided to remove me. Fair enough, I'm off now and I'm going to make Warhammer 40k in live action. Winner. No, nobody thought that Henry Cavill was going to just sit there and do nothing. Everybody knew, well, he's going to move to Warhammer now probably. And that's what he did. Because he decided to do that. Is Henry Cavill out there wallowing and going, I feel real sad, I do, I had to be Superman and now I'm not Superman. He's like, had a good run, time to hang up the cape. Sorry about that, would have loved to do more there for the fans. But here's what I'm going to do next. You know what I mean? Now, going back to this, McGregor says in response here to, okay, you want to be a politician, solve this. What would you do about the East Wall protests? And don't duck the question. He says, I stand with the people of East Wall, and no, I do not want to be a politician, just that they have to answer to me. Now, that's hilarious, because to me, there can't be anything funnier, and there won't be anything funnier than when an individual, and that's why, to me, there's a very serious and credible threat that these people feel from Conor McGregor, because he has a lot of backing from people here. And the media have worked in overtime over the last couple of years due to what he's done outside of the cage to try and bring him down, because they know that this is a possible position he could take. They don't want this type of guy in there. They want the Bertie Ahern and they want the Luke O'Neill. That is absolutely 100% who they want in there. When the media come out and tell you that they don't want this guy, I'm looking and going, well, what's that guy about there? You know what I'm saying? And this is the type of thing they don't want. They want someone that's going to say, well, I stand with East Wall. What are you going to do about it? Hang on here for a second there. People are being flooded in their own community, not having this anymore. And he's going to go out and tweet it then. That's why Donald Trump, for example, was such a thorn for them. Now, again, I'm not saying that Donald Trump isn't playing on very similar teams. From what I can see, I think possibly he is. But at the very least, what he was doing was he was tweeting out, yeah, this is nonsense here, and look what these people are trying to do. And he was actually highlighting what went on. There's been no other president in the history, I don't think, of the world that has highlighted as much stuff as Donald Trump has. Recently, though, your man Bolsonaro in Brazil has. Another thing, by the way, that the media are super quiet about. So I want to tell you about what's going on in Brazil. Brazil's still having issues. And Brazil are now, from what I understand, the military are starting to get involved and they're starting to push forward the things that Article 142 of their constitution to be like, yeah, this doesn't seem legit here, guys, so we're going to have to look into that. So keep your eyes on what's going on in Brazil. Now, again, if you want to put the tinfoil hat fully on, and I absolutely will, you look at the World Cup. Look at how good a team that Brazil team are. Do you think that they want them winning the World Cup? Not a chance. There's nothing going on over in Argentina, you know what I mean? But on the whole, what McGregor is doing here is very interesting, because I do think that he would get public support. Now, like I said, the media will come out and try and remind you about things that he's done. But what about the likes of Roderick O'Gorman tweeting publicly about Peter Tatchell? What about that? You won't talk about that one at all. What about the likes of the government that are coming out there and they're telling you to do this, that, and the other, and they were wrong for the last 2.5 years? What about that? You don't talk about that. What about the amount of people there was that there even recently the CSO were coming out and saying was it 1 in 35 people attempted to do away with themselves over the last 2 years? What about that? What about the 200% increase in people that wanted and tried and some were actually successful in doing away with themselves over the last 2 years? You want to talk about that one? No, you don't. But you want to talk to me about a fella that threw a slap in a pub. You know what I mean? No thanks. No thanks is the reason that I'm giving for that. And in the meantime, Conor McGregor actually whipped out an old story there from Paul McGrath when he assaulted, allegedly, speculatively, an old farmer down in his local area. By the way, just as an aside, because this was another tweet that McGregor put out there, and he said English Paul McGrath, and there was people that tweeted at him and they were like, "What are you talking about? Oh, your hero he is." Paul McGrath was actually born in England. To Nigerian father, by the way. I think it's pertinent. I think it's, you need to you need to know the facts there on that one. Man, and this is what's happening here in Cork Beow. Now, this is an article I think from yesterday. This is the type of shit that's coming out there, and it's coming out from a goofball like Eamon Ryan. Eamon Ryan shouldn't be in charge of a five-a-side, let alone be in charge of any government policies. And again, this goes to show you how upside down and inverse this society is and this country is, because when you have someone that in Eamon Ryan that people don't take seriously, and he's coming out and making these sort of statements, this should absolutely be pushed back. Not only that, though, but these media websites, if they had any sort of stones whatsoever, would actively be pushing back against it and going, sorry there, excuse me, we're nearly 3 years into this situation here, and you're telling me the things that don't work that have already been talked about, that they don't work. You're trying to push them again. We're going to have a problem with that. Instead, you've got kickballs like the Cork Beow out there coming out and being like, mandatory masks could make New Year comeback, and the woohoo rate soar by 75%. How about saying, yeah, hang on there for a sec there, Eamon. What about those things that you gave out once, twice, 3 times, 4 times? They didn't work, did they not? What about the masks initially? Did they work? No, didn't stop it. Know what I'm saying? But yours truly will come out and say, no, that's nonsense. And like I said here, it won't be happening because there's way too many people that are out there now that are like, no, I won't be doing that. No chance of that happening. And if you thought that I was obtuse beforehand and I was oppositional beforehand, oh, you've got another thing coming, because there's even more data and articles that I can draw upon. So if you want to mess about, see what happens. See what happens. Now, we've got a couple of other things that I'll show you here now in these pictures. Just give me a second. I'm just going to have a quick swig there before we get into this one. Now, hang on there for a second. So, what we've got here, you've got Josepha Madigan down on the L's Twitters, and she's going, oh, guys, look at this. This is an individual that would have absolutely, respectively, allegedly, rolled the carpet out for Cromwell as well. A historic day for Leo Varadkar and our Fine Gael party. What's that? Have you decided to oust him as leader? Oh no, an honour to serve under his leadership as Taoiseach, Taoiseach, and now Taoiseach again. How many scandals has he had in those 3 terms? Term as Taoiseach, term as Taoiseach, and now Taoiseach again. There'll be a scandal next week, I'm telling you. There absolutely will be some sort of scandal in the next week. And look at the face of this one over here. Again, you look at this goblin over here, and she's looking up towards him, and he is looking at her in disgust. Now, this is something that the point man sent towards me. He actually said to me, she looks afraid. And this fella's just looking down, and he's like, look at you, just looking up at me there. You just keep looking there, little Josepha. And you're on there, you're on the Twitters, you're posting out like you're €150 pair of runners that you're going out there and you're telling people about poverty. Like, oh, absolutely scandalous. And this is the type of nonsense that you're seeing from these people. 118 likes, by the way. Do you know what I'm going to do whilst I'm here? I'm going to actually tell you how many followers this one has. I'm going to do it live here now. You know yourself. This is what you get at the live show. You get these ridiculous live things. This woman, just to let you know, has 19.1 thousand followers and has amassed 118 likes on Twitter. This is why the Twitter thing is important. Now, there has been a very significant sacking in the Irish part of Twitter, and this is why I believe the likes of me has still not been restored to Twitter, because there's people still hanging around the Irish offices. Elon, get them out of there quick. Now, if you're a base patriot that's in those Twitter offices, you are more than welcome to stay. But if you're one of those goofballs that wants the likes of me off Twitter for telling Fred that he was a donkey, which he is, this is a fella that's not rated by Eric Ten Hag, by the way, and wasn't rated by the Brazil coach. He was actually on the bench, and then he was brought on in games that they were comfortably winning. If you want to tell me that I'm wrong about that and telling me that that's some sort of dislike, listen, there's loads of fellas out there that are donkeys. I make regular videos on the fact that Luke Shaw's a donkey. But again, you don't seem to have any problem with that. Going back to what I'm saying, 19.1 thousand followers and 118 likes. The reason why this is pertinent and the reason why I keep bringing this up is these people do not have the support that they pretend to have. And that's what's becoming more and more apparent. Now, you might say to me, well, Ninja Knight, there's people that are out there that are voting with these people and they don't exist in an online world. I fully agree with you. fully agree with you. There's people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that are voting, and they don't exist in an online world. But how is it possible that this person can have nearly 20,000 followers and still only amass 118 likes? Like, my ridiculous channel, when it was on Twitter, could probably amass likes like this now that the things have been switched over. I should say the power has been switched over to someone that's a little bit more interested in showing you what's going on. Like Salty was talking about there, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and he was like, the increase in the amount of likes that I'm getting is exponential since Elon took over. He's like, I barely crack 1,000, now I'm cracking 4,000, no problem. Like, this is a YouTuber, by the way, that's getting more likes than a person that's a government minister here in Ireland. And there's other people that are out there that are floating around. I think it was a Dr. Harold News is getting regular likes that are out, well, I should say, out liking the likes of government ministers here. Does that not tell you an awful lot? But look at this goblin that's over here that's deciding to tell you a historic day for Leo Varadkar. The disgust that I have for the political spectrum in this country, in particular, these people, these sycophants, these people that are like, if you've ever seen Transformers, they're like various incarnations of Starscream, treacherous, spineless, cowardly individuals that are just selling the country out from under its feet. And they're telling you it's a historic and honourable day. This fella is looking down at you as if he's after smelling a bad fart. Know what I mean? And maybe he did. Like, it's stunning stuff. And this is what I'm talking about. The willingness to be a sycophant from a person that has allegedly speculatively an Irish name is utterly unbelievable. Like, if you think that this fella is not fit for the job, which I'm sure most of the people within the party do think that, how come none of you, not one of you, have challenged the leadership? Because you have to be seeing the exact same scandals that I'm seeing, as well as everybody else is seeing, and have to be asking yourselves, don't know if this looks good here. The fact that you have all done nothing, though, makes you all people that are under scrutiny now in future. Because everyone's just going to look at it and go, well, none of you has opposed any of that scandal there, or none of those policies. So you're now in the same boat. This is why you're seeing an increasing measure from these people of panic when it comes to media articles, the comment sections of places being turned off, certain articles that are out there that are trying to get at the likes of Philip, at Satirical Soldier, Derek Bloig, the Irish Git, Dave Cullen, Gran Torino. That's where you're seeing those type of articles getting out there, because they're like, there's a real people's movement starting to happen now, and people have smartphones and they're posting these things online. We've now lost the reins on Twitter. And this is something that's going to be shown to other people. WhatsApp groups, by the way, have been lit up as well too, with people sending around videos of what's going on. And it's becoming more and more slippery. And the more that these people try to ignore that there's actual problems going on, the more people are going to be waiting for them when they knock on the door and say to them, you've got to fix this now. And the fact that you're not fixing it, we're going to go and do something else. I think the likes of Derek Bloig, what he's doing with the Ireland First, I think it's a good movement. And I think if it develops into a solid party, that's great. I've seen a lot of people as well too very impressed with Ryan too. I've seen people that have been impressed with Matty McGrath. To me, I think you need to be under one umbrella though. I think you need to be under one party, and that's why when you're saying the division, and the division is on purpose, by the way. The division is purposely done so that they can create chaos and that they can create schisms and splits and stuff like that. Like, you look at how ridiculous the decision from the National Party was to get rid of Philip Dwyer. Had a runner there, no problem, that would have gotten in and would have gotten good backing, and they decided to cast him aside. So most people accurately said at the time, well, that's it now with the National Party, I'm not interested, because they're not interested in making any sort of real moves. You know what I mean? Again, Shannon's seat was open, up for grabs, didn't run for it. A fella ran based on the fact that his son is in a wheelchair, no disrespect to him, and he ran on the fact that, hey, we need to get bus ramps on buses, and he won the Shannon seat. Nobody's heard from that chap since. Nothing. Meanwhile, you've got Sharon Cogan at the very least, that's up there nearly weekly. That's like, hey, look what's going on here. You've got the base Matty McGrath sitting in the Dáil chambers that these people absolutely loathe. The fact, I'm going to show you a video now in a moment to show you in its entirety. The fact that these people sneer at Matty McGrath lets you know the type of person you need in the Dáil now. I'm going to show you, this is an article here. This was also sent to me by The Point Man, and this comes from the Herald. Burke out of jail after 108 days stint cost the taxpayer 25,000. What about the amount of people that are in our jails that have come to our shores that are now residing in prison? How about that? You want to talk about that? Let's do that. Let's see the population of the jails and let's do it by nationality and let's talk about how long they're in the jail. Do you want to do that? Because if you want to talk about money, that's no problem at all. I'll do that. I'll talk about money and how many Albanians you have hanging around the place, how many Georgians you have hanging around the place, how many Nigerians you have hanging around the place, sitting in jails around the country. And we'll top up how much those people cost the taxpayer. Do you want to do that? Do you want to go down that road? Because that's the road that needs to be going down. That's what should be done by the likes of the Herald. But you scumbags that are out there, that are in these media outlets, decide to say, oh no, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about a fella that's in the jail, ultimately because he wouldn't call a boy a day. And he's cost 25,000. It's cost the taxpayer 25,000. Hey, listen, what about the nearly €1 billion that's been sent out of this country in foreign aid? What about the fact that Pascal Donoghue found nearly 3 billion down the back of the couch to bring people not of this country into this country? Want to talk about that? No, you don't. Okay. This is also what the judge said. The judge also warned that he could face financial sanctions, such as the sequestration of his assets if he defies orders. So this, by the way, on one token, or I should say on one hand, the victory for Enoch Burke is very consequential in what's going to happen going forward. On the other hand, though, they are laying the groundwork for telling you that you are financially going to be sanctioned for not agreeing with nonsense. In a functioning society, he never would have been entered into the prison system. This sort of stuff isn't, and this is the thing with the media, by the way. They're talking about Qatar. Nobody's in jail in Qatar for telling people, yeah, listen, I'm not going to call a boy a day. You know what they're in jail in Qatar for? Serious crimes. Real crimes. But this clown world country wants to talk about and this is another thing, you want to pontificate. You know, this is something the Yanks do all the time, by the way. If you're an American that's listening to this, I'm just going to tell you this. You want to pontificate about what other people are doing around the place. Now, hang on here for a sec. You can't do that. You can't be pontificating to other countries and telling people how great you are after what you did in the likes of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You can't be talking about anybody else. Absolutely not. You can't be pointing at people and saying, oh, you can't be doing and saying this there after what you did in Iraq and Afghanistan. You can't be doing that. And the same thing here now with the likes of these people. Oh, look at Qatar. Can't believe they were given a World Cup. Well, crime is at an absolute all-time low over there. There was nobody arrested from the English camp. They decided not to bend the knee to the likes of the rainbow stuff, and everything seemed to go really well. I don't know about you, but it seems to be that place seems to know what's going on. And there ain't nobody sitting in a jail over there for telling people, yeah, listen, a boy isn't a day. Ridiculous stuff. But this is letting you know, this is the groundwork with which they want to go at, and they put it into print here everywhere because, listen, nobody's buying papers anymore. A couple of people out there are buying papers. Not many people are buying them. Because how do I know that? I know that because they've decided to go, I'll show you that now in a sec. They've decided to go behind paywalls online. And you'll notice as well, by the way, that they will keep, in more so what I've seen, and again, this is just my observation, they will show you a full article when it's got to do with an Irish person, but if it's got to do with someone not of this land, they'll put that behind the paywall. Every time. What other country would this happen in, Ireland today is diverse, inclusive and vibrant, but only 1% of local councillors are from a migrant background and just 25% are female. I welcome the funding announced to encourage more women and diverse candidates to run the 2024 local elections, or I urge you all to get involved. Isn't this scandalous? Isn't this scandalous? Now, not interested in fixing things from where this individual came from, but interested in talking to you about identity politics. This is the next move, by the way. You'll have morons like this, with accents not like ours, coming over and telling us about identity politics and telling us how we were complicit in certain traits. No, I'm not going to have that. No, thanks. You're all right there. That's why Batman, by the way, that's on the side. Have you noticed the Batman? And this is the thing, by the way. This is why James Gunn couldn't wait, in my opinion, to get rid of Ben Affleck's Batman. Do you know who Batman used to do this to? He used to do this to people that were involved with traffic. You know what I'm saying? and other people that were heinous offenders. That's why the Zack Snyder Batman and Superman, they needed to go. Because when you've got James Gunn running the show, you're like, oh no. Anyway, we move on. Happy Hanukkah to these 4 individuals. Now, the reason why I put this up, by the way, you know who he is. Oh, George, there's Mark. There's your man running around the olive drab. This fella, by the way, and just as an aside, because a massive article came out during the week, and I'll just talk about it from an entertainment standpoint, because it lets you know everything you need to know, by the way. This fella's called Chuck Schumer. Now, this fella is a politician in America. His niece, you know, some of the women that are in here, they'll already be way ahead of me in what I'm going to say next. Amy Schumer is this fella's niece, right? So this fella's a politician. She's a very poor comedian. This woman has made her way onto movie sets and has made her way into movies and has earned a fortune. She has for being ultimately a bad comedian that steals jokes. That's what she does. Okay. Now, what happened during the week was there was a massive article that came out. I don't know who it was from. I think it was maybe Variety. And they had it was called the Year of the Nepo Baby. Nepotism. Well, I tell you what, I knew most of them, right? But there are some surprising connections between nearly everybody in Hollywood, everybody in the entertainment industry, and some people that are involved even in politics and in the media are somehow linked and involved. Cousins, aunties, mothers, brothers, sisters, godfathers, godmothers, godsons, goddaughters, whatever that might be, connections everywhere. You wouldn't believe the connections that the likes of J.J. Abrams has. There is nobody on that list that doesn't have a connection somewhere. Look at Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson's dad was actually a wrestler. He was well known. I think he called Rocky the Samoan. Anyway, he was someone that was out there and was well known. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., as you know, his father was involved, but he also had an uncle, I think it was, that wrote for the likes of SNL, and that's where Robert got his first break. That's where he got his first role, as far as I know. And there were so many others. And there were some good people in there, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some good, decent individuals in there, like Clint Eastwood, and that's all I can think of right now when I talk about good, decent individuals. Clint Eastwood and his son, Scott Eastwood. And you can make an argument for that one as well, too. I actually like Scott Eastwood, and I particularly like Clint Eastwood. But there were so many other individuals that have either low talent or no talent at all that were running around. Like even Josh Brolin, right? I actually like Josh Brolin as Thanos, and I've never seen the big thing around him. I think he's an okay actor. But look at who he's related to, and you're like, that is a dynasty of people that have been hanging around this area for a very long time. And this is why they're all on the same script. Carrie Fisher was another one. Carrie Fisher was one that I was absolutely bowled over by, because I was like, this is some chick that was pulled out of nowhere. No, it wasn't. She had family as well too that was also involved in Hollywood and was involved in entertainment. All of these people have strings attached. Each and every one of them. I couldn't believe it. Very interesting stuff to see. This is what I'm going to show you here now as well. This is also very interesting and very pertinent and very much so linked to Ireland. Show you this video. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch it in its entirety so you can see it. So it's 2:54. And I'll let you know the scamming that's going on here in this country.
You just can't write this stuff. As you can see here from the advert, a young Ukrainian woman who was being given a house here in this country and decides to sublet it. She's looking for €3,000 a month, as you can see there. Is there a deposit or other fees? The house is free. By free, she means it's empty. I rent the house completely, short term or long term. If you are interested in long term rent, the cost of the house is $3,200 plus utilities and deposit. The girl asks, where's the location? Hibernian Avenue. She's scrolling down there now. The house is free. I rent the house completely short term. I don't understand what is free. Available for rent, she means, by saying it's free. Are you the landlord or are you subletting? And she answers by saying, subletting. Unbelievable. She gets a free house and decides to sublet it. She even puts her phone number up there for contact. 087 179 0753. Now, this is what you're dealing with. This is what you're dealing with. She is probably, after coming over here, getting that house and fucking off back to Ukraine and collecting €3,000 each and every month into her bank account. Well, she's living the life of luxury on €3,000 from this country by some unsuspecting, gullible even Irish person. This is just sickening to no end. It's unbelievable. I mean, where would you get it? Unbelievable. There you go. About me, as in her, lives in Kiev, Ukraine. Joined Facebook 2014. Also a member of Dublin Rent and House, Villa Apartment Flat, room, bed space. She's probably doing this all over Europe. She's probably bouncing from country to country, getting a free house and subletting them. Going back to Ukraine, living in her nice big cushy house and benefiting from a nice, juicy, overflowing bank account each and every month. This is unbelievable, people. And there you are. They're the people that's been allowed into this country.
So there you go. 2 minutes and 52 seconds there of what's going on. And let me just tell you this. That's one example. That's not even talking about the amount of people that have landed in the place. Over 10,000, they're telling you now. And how many of them are involved with similar situations. Tells you all, doesn't it? This is what I was talking about earlier on. Now, this is promoted, by the way, by RTE. And what I'm saying about promoted is they were telling you about this, and there was no actual comment from them underneath it to say to you, actually, guys, what they've decided to do here in New Zealand is a terrible thing. No comment on this whatsoever. This is a shocking overstep. And to be quite honest, as I said earlier on, the fact that this hasn't, I'll say no more. The fact that this is the way it is in that country tells you everything that you need to know about where they want to go next. And it is not about health. And here's the thing. People would say, well, you know, the doctors have a Hippocratic oath and all of that. The parents in this situation, just to give you a back story to this one, they have told the hospital, they had people, this is a second situation of this happening, by the way, and you can bet your bottom dollar it won't be the last. They have told the hospital that they have a litany of people lined up, ready to go to be donors. And the hospital actively refused it. And they said, tell you what you can do, guys, you can play roulette now. And the parents said, no way. So much so that the court stood in. Now, I'm standing on the side of Gerald Salente when he's talking about the honourable this, judge this and judge that. Listen, you eat piss and shit just like I do. You ain't nobody special just because you put on a black robe and you decide to call yourself honour and judge like that. You're no different than I am. And especially when you're making ludicrous decisions like this, you have now lost any and all respect, and you should do, from the people when you decide to engage in things like this, because this is a dramatic overstep and overreach from a government that is completely out of control, a regime that is completely out of control, masquerading as something that they want to do to help. Not when you have a viable other options should you be taking this sort of measure. It's honest to God, if we lived in a functioning society, this would be top news everywhere and they would be condemning this. They are very quick to be out there now telling you that what's going on in Iran is absolutely terrible. They're very quick to be out there telling you that the likes of what happened on January 6th is absolutely terrible and you should be 100% against that. 100% are out there all of the time, but nobody in the media spectrum is talking about this. And I'm going to be doing a video about it, of course. But the fact is that none of these big corporations are out there going, hang on here for a second. Look at this. This is tyranny. And you're talking about my body, my choice. But here's a child that his parents are looking over him, well, allegedly a him, speculatively, allegedly, it could be a whore, are looking over this child. And yet, no sort of talk about that whatsoever. Why is there no talk about that whatsoever? You'll already know, you're in the comments, you're listening to this, the gig is they actually don't care about kids. They're actively telling you not to have kids. They're actively putting up things for you to make sure future generations don't happen. Like, they have now introduced here in Ireland that they're going to be giving out free stuff to prevent that. Not only that, though, but there's been 23,000 here in Ireland. 23,000 here in Ireland that have now been removed from existence. That's what's happening. And there's no media fervour around that. There's active support towards it. But at the same time, these people in these outlets want me to care about people with the sniffles. You got it all wrong. But as you know, what it's all about is condensing and reducing the amount of people. I have to be quite honest with you. I cannot state any further what I would like to state in regards to this. And certainly if I was one of the parents, I cannot state and I will not state what I would do in response to this. This is shocking. It's absolutely shocking and it's abhorrent. And this should be an absolute red flag, and alarm bells should be ringing off around with people around the world, because this isn't the last of this going to happen. There's other people that are in circumstances like this, people that are adults as well as children. The fact that they're doing this to a child as well tells you everything you need to know, and how sinister the likes of the people there, particularly in governments and in the courts in New Zealand are. That's sinister. This is evil, is what you're witnessing here. And it's been dressed up here. Oh, New Zealand takes custody of the sick baby from parents that are anti this and that. Now, hang on here. They're very reasonable people. All they've said to you is, hang on here for a second. We don't trust something that's, first of all, experimental, and second of all, we don't know what it's going to do long term. What we do have is another option, which is we've got people here who haven't taken it and are happy to give for it. And you've actively gone, up yours, we're doing what we want. This would elicit a response, I think, from most people that are very different to what the parents here are doing. New Zealand's a very chill country. It's too chill. Oh, I'll tell you. Anyway, no further comment on that one. You've got Ursula von der Leyen there, has 1.3 million followers, just to let you know. I think I might have talked about this briefly last week. 1,094 likes. There you go. Let you know about that one there. I even tweeted that little weasel Martin as well, too. You've also got this as well, little speed round of what's going on. Cryptocurrency founder passes unexpectedly at 30. A young cryptocurrency founder has passed unexpectedly at age 30 on November 23rd. Tiantian Kulander, the 30-year-old co-founder of the digital asset company Amber, gone, no longer with us. Country singer Jake Flint, 37, passes unexpectedly just hours after his wedding. There's also a woman there during the week. She was an actress, 42 years of age. I think she was on Law and Order SVU. I think she was some sort of writer as well too. Can't quite remember her name right now. 42, at a shopping mall with her mother. Felt unwell, no longer with us now. Regularly happening. 3 journalists in Qatar, by the way. They're not talking about that. Gateway Pundit, by the way, big shout out to Gateway Pundit. That's where you should be getting your news from. If I'm not posting stuff out, I like to read the articles from Gateway Pundit. They're absolutely brilliant, they are. And they're letting you know what's happening. 3 reporters in Gettr, all fellas of a very similar lefty disposition, no longer with us. And again, you just got to look at the amount of people, and particularly young people, that this is happening to, and yet there's no media attention on that whatsoever. Here's another one. Flight attendant passes from heart attack while in the air. Flight attendant Yasser Saleh passed of a heart attack while working on a flight from Bahrain to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Totally normal. Do you know what they did, by the way? They decided to land and they decided to change the crew. And some of the crew that were still on the flight when not this woman, I think this is a stock image, when this individual passed, and they were like, "Hey, you can go back on," and people just carried on. I was like, "Whoa!" Like, that is incredible to think that people actually got back on and were like, "Yeah, nothing towards." Not thinking about that. Unreal. 1 in 10 people aged under 35 tried to do this. Survey finds Chief Medical Officer Professor Breda Smith said she is very concerned about these figures. Very concerned. What are you doing about it? Nothing. And here's the thing, by the way, you'll probably find that the large majority of these were men. Because, like I said, you're seeing a dramatic increase in things, and I'm just going to put this out there. You may or may not agree with me. people that are going and serious about doing things like this are going to do it. Like Jason David Frank, for example, I pondered an awful lot about that now for about a month because I was like, man, I never understood it. I don't understand how someone that's rich and famous does it. I really don't. And I certainly don't understand how anyone does it anyway, right? But at the same token, or on the same token, I don't think you're ever going to stop anybody that's going to do it. Seriously, do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, what I mean by that is, I think, sure, if someone's giving you the warning signs or if they're saying something to you, you can do your absolute best. This is not to say that anyone should do it. I'm absolutely, if you're out there and you're listening or anything like that, please don't, is what I would say. And there's always going to be brighter days, and you've got to look ahead. And there's a lot of hope and optimism to be taken from everything that's going on at the moment. These people are trying to make you feel pessimistic. They're trying to make you feel down. But what I want you to know is that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and certainly people that are around you, whatever you might be thinking, whether you think that they're better off without you, they ain't. It's devastation it causes to people around you, honestly. And I speak, and I'm telling you that truthfully. What I'm also saying to you truthfully is this: if someone is going to do this, I don't think there's anything we can do. We seem to be people and humans in general as a species. We seem to think that we can, I think, do something about everything. You can't do something about everything. You just can't. That's reality. And the fact of the matter is, you can just do your very best. And that's all you can do. But when they put articles like this out, and it says 1 in 10 people aged under 35 try to do this, there's no concern at all about why people are doing this. But what they're doing at the same token is pushing forward sadness. They're pushing forward people that are telling you to be sad. And I mean, I've heard it multiple times from people, friends of mine, because they'd always reach out and they'd say, you know, I'm feeling this way or the other. And I'm like, look, you're grand and all that. And then now a big thing that's become very apparent, by the way, some people that I know, single mothers, the children run around telling people that they're depressed. And you look at the child and say, what does depressed mean? It means sad. I'm like, where did you hear that word? Aunt Mammy was on the phone and she was telling people, and you're like, hang on here for a second. Like, a child should have no comprehension about what that word means at all. And second of all, when you're bandying around a word like depressed, people feel sad sometimes. All right, is it normal to feel sad all the time? I don't think so. But it's all right to feel sad sometimes, and that's what you feel. That's just emotions. That's humans. That's how we are. But there's this constant and consistent push out there to be like, oh, if you feel sad, there's totally something wrong. No, you just feel sad. That's it. Normal. It's stressful. Life is stressful. Things are difficult. You just go, well, you know what I mean? I have to look at the beauty in life, have to look at the positivity and drive on. You know? But when they're putting out articles like this, make no bones about it, they don't care about people in these situations. We've got people that I know that would actively tell you that they've rang up certain places, it won't say where, and they were told, can you call us back there in 3 or 4 days? These are places that people go and do very big fundraising for all of the time. And yet they were told, listen, we don't have the manpower or the staff to deal with that. Well, you're not very serious then about tackling that problem, nor do you seem interested, and you aren't interested in it because, I mean, at the same time, you're telling us you want to reduce carbon footprints, and ultimately that's talking about people. Do you know what I mean? Like, unreal stuff it is. But like I said earlier on, and it factors into what I was talking about, when you're promoting constant sadness and sorrow and people feeling sorry for themselves, and that's what they're doing, by the way, it's another psychological thing. You're looking at the likes of, and we'll just take him as an example there, you're looking at PJ Gallagher, someone that's been, I would say, moderately successful. You know, someone that's had been on a TV show, would probably be doing all right money-wise, and he's going, I feel sad. You've got people sitting there looking at that going, well, if he's feeling sad, Janie, like, I'm just some bricklayer, like, and I'm, you know, I'm earning X amount of money, and life's tough, like, isn't it? And things are getting tougher. And that's the psychological impact that's having upon people. Having people going out and going, no, hang on here for a second, change your mentality, make sure you're feeling good, go out there, get a run in, talk to people and be with people you love, don't deal with nonsense or anything like that, and drive for the gold all of the time. Instead, they're rolling these people out all of the time. We feel sad. Real stuff. Annie Geary, I'm feeling guilty over enjoying Christmas after losing dad. RTE star Annie Geary has opened up about feeling guilty. This is one of the very few women, by the way, that RTE like to bring on that's actually attractive. So fair play to them on that one. She lost her father and he passed after a short illness. Again, that after a short illness seems to be very commonplace here in the last year, but no questions being asked about that whatsoever. Now, as you've seen up there above, we have to be worried about diversity and inclusion in our communities. And when I say worried about it, you have to be pushing them on and making people counsellors. So many doctors and scientists that we've welcomed into this country, by the way. It's great stuff for this. Yet this country is being accused of being an Istaphobe country. So you've got one or two things, as I keep saying to people, you've got one or two things that's going on. Either the people that are coming here are stupid because you've come here and you're telling people it's an Istaphobe country, so anybody that's coming after you, it must be an absolute moron. Or that Istaphobism doesn't exist at all. What you're going to do is you're going to will it and speak it into existence. Because at a point in time that we're at now in the world, which is an awful lot of people have decided not to be looking the other way anymore and decide to point the finger rightfully back and say, hang on here, knife crime in London seems to be perpetuated by a very big proportion of certain individuals. Not only that though, but anytime I see a video of people robbing stores in America, it seems to be one people. Not only that though, but the people that are running certain industries and are running banks and stuff like that seem to be one people. But yeah, bear with me, mob movies and mafia movies that are always Italian made, no problem whatsoever. No issue there at all. That's weird. That seems strange to me. Anyway, you've got one of our new doctors here from the Independent.ie. Man 20 accused of doing this to windows of neighbour's car has left her too afraid to go home, a court was told. A young man accused of smashing the windows of a neighbour's car has left her too afraid to go home, a court has heard. No further comment. No further comment. As I said earlier on, this is the baby there. Parents who refused this transfusion speak out at the court places baby W in care. Mad stuff. That's absolutely mad stuff, that is, honest to God. I showed you that video last week at the Mihal Martin. Twitter dissolved its Trust and Safety Council. Twitter has disbanded its Trust and Safety Council volunteer group formed in 2016. You know what happened that year? Doctor at Kerry Hospital tried to hug and kiss patient after inappropriate exam. Funnily enough, not from our land, that doctor. Not so funny, but listen, it's not in the article. They don't state it. Well, it is in the article, but they don't state it in the headline. We've got their 300, fantastic movie. And the Persians, their surrender and lower your weapons, or it will crush you. The Persians, the base Persians, Leonidas, come and take them. Love that movie. Just to remind you, by the way, Roderick O'Gorman tweeted that out there. Have a look into Peter Tatchell, this fella here, and see the type of comments he's made. Make your own conclusions to that one. This is one of the things that McGregor said. PJ Gallagher, you sad little of a thing. Sit upright and smile for a change with it. You sad. Wife left you and all, and you're crying in the paper about depression. Posture like a prawn. Sad. I am worried, and don't forget, there's blood on my flag. Again, this is something that McGregor was hounded about. To me, I don't see anything wrong in what he said. The wife did go away from him and took the money and stuff like that, so that's an accurate statement. And so what if he's slagging them off, you know what I mean? Like I said, you got to bring masculinity back, and these people that are out there telling you to feel sad all the time, they're having that effect on you and making you feel sad. I mean, very clear. We go on to this here now. This is what PJ Gallagher initially said. Normally this kind of thing winds me up, but they can have this lad totally unprovoked and decided to say that, and yet then was surprised where the clap back down from McGregor. Paul McGrath decided to call Conor McGregor a bully and says, I have the kettle on anytime you want to come around. And McGregor was like, no, I'm not interested in that. And then this person said, say something about Paul McGrath, Conor, if you have the balls. And McGregor said, never won anything for Ireland. Very accurate, very true statement. And I mean, here's the thing. This is where you're at. There was people screeching in the comments, by the way, when he made that statement. And you're looking at it going, but he's right, though. McGrath did win nothing for Ireland. Like, why are you... And this is just to let you know, because people of another generation were and have been convinced to support mediocrity. And they have been conditioned to say, Italian 90 was great. Sure. Okay? Sure, it was great. Did they win anything? No. But the other fella over here, whatever you think about him in his outside world and his outside life and whatever he does outside of that, he still brought 2 gold straps to this country there of what was it at the time, 4 million people. That's insane. That's insane to have done that. And always spoke out and advocated for Ireland. I don't know about you, but certainly I sided with McGregor on that one over anybody else in terms of the likes of the McGraths of the world or anything like that. I just would. So that's where I stand on that one. Maybe you stand on a different side. That's fine. And some people, and I've said it before, I like Paul McGrath. I like what he did for Manchester United and stuff like that. But that's not to discount the fact that Conor McGregor is the first UFC champion from Ireland. And is he only? I think he is only. The reason why the Irish flag, actually, as a matter of fact, is on that UFC belt is because of Conor McGregor. Like, what a mark to be left upon an organisation forevermore. You know? And double champ, by the way. So, again, this isn't turning into a McGregor fanboy streamer and that. You know, I've said before as well when he's had previous fights, I've said, well, maybe the camps, you need to look at them. But what I'm saying to you is social media as a whole and all of these articles and outlets decided to pile in on McGregor. So you've decided to pile in on a man collectively that has taken the mick out of PJ Gallagher, but you're telling me now that it's all right to pile in on him there and affect his mental health. Like, that seems like hypocrisy, does it not? And then, of course, then there was the age-old adage, McGregor retweeted my stuff to like 10 million people. I only have like 2,000 people that follow me. That's what happens. That's what happens. When I was on that platform that provided no protection for me and actively got rid of me because I was causing a little bit of issue by quoting people and being like, I've got more likes than this person. That platform had no interest in doing that. And I didn't mind being involved with people that had more followers than me. No problem at all. No issue. Anyway, moving on. Not Wanted as Taoiseach, December 2022. You lied about the USC. We've got this here from January 16, 2016. This should be something that is constantly and consistently reminded to people about. 5 years ago, thousands paid their first USC under Fianna Fáil. Fine Gael will abolish USC over the lifetime of the next government. That didn't happen. So that's a lie. That's one lie of many. Let's just be honest. That's one lie of many. And you've got Josepha Madigan up above there that's like, it's not going to be serving on you. What an honour. Absolute snivelling sycophant. Snivelling. Anyway, we'll keep going. Show you what's going on here. This is a picture from the cabinet during the week, by the way. Look at this here. See this in the background. That's what they're interested in. Now, from what I can see here, what have you noticed that's not here? Yeah, that's right. There's no tricolour. Can't see a tricolour at all here. But this thing here is there. Now, what's that? You have all of these goofballs that are sitting at the table, people that you wouldn't pick for a five-a-side. Look at the people here that are involved. This is your new cabinet. People that are consistent and constant failures in what they do have now rewarded themselves with more jobs and different titles. Like, it is unbelievable. The lack. And I mean, here's the thing. These people are not ever, just to be clear, they're not ever going to hold themselves responsible or accountable. That is up to the people to do that. It is up to the people. You're not going to see any inquiry of any serious matter being held. And even at that, they have proved, through this fella alone, they have proved that the likes of a Garda inquiry into someone, an investigation, a criminal investigation, will go absolutely nowhere once they have the DPP. Done. You now live in a failed society. You live in a society and you live in a country that is inverse and it is totally and utterly wrong. That is the country we now live in. Would Michael Collins have stood for that? I highly doubt that. You have people that are out here now that are sitting with this banner behind them, because here's the banner there. It's this banner here from 2030. There's something that's been pushed on by the likes of the UN and it's been pushed on by the forum. Because they love their little symbols. They love this. What does this also show you as well? What does that look like? It looks like an eye. Why? Because these people are fascinated with one eye every single time. Look at all of the difference, and you know yourself, you will see all of the different artists. Watch it now in future. You'll see it. Artists, entertainers, musicians that cover one eye. They have it covered by their hands. They have it covered by their hair. They have one eye in a picture. Look out for it now in the future. Maybe even look out for it on some of your album covers if you still have albums. Look out for that, because that's what you'll start to see now. The symbolism has been there for a very long time, and it came a cropper there with this whole Balenciaga thing. The Balenciaga thing was noticed by normies. It was noticed by people. And then they came out and were like, we didn't know about that. Well, there's hundreds of people that those images got through. Not only that, there's people on set that had to know that they were placing certain documents there that were talking about courts and specifically about kids in those courts that you decided to place there, no problem. Also, the books that are behind you are placed there for a very specific reason, and celebrities haven't decided to distance themselves from it. None of your bank accounts have been suspended at all whatsoever, but Kanye West, he has lost, was it now, 2 billion worth of revenue because he decided to say, hey, listen guys, here's who's running the game. I don't know about you, but symbolism is a very big thing with these people. And that is what these people are sitting with this behind and proudly behind them. They are sitting there with that. They are not interested in you. They are not interested in Ireland. If this is I mean, again, you might want to slag him, you might want to slate him. If this is a Conor McGregor brand presidency, there's tricolours all over the place. You know, the UFC have a new rule in saying that you can't walk out anywhere with a flag. I'm telling you now, the next time McGregor, if he ever does come back to the UFC, he ain't not walking out without an Ireland flag. He's just not going to do it. But this is letting you know where these people are at, and this has been noticed by people. So when these people are knocking on your doors or their entourage are knocking on your doors and telling you to vote for them, tell them, show them images like this and say, well, what do you mean by this? What does that mean? And put them out there, put her up to them. Because, again, this is going to create more content for people. People will realise what's happening and they'll be able to accurately decipher who's involved with that and who's not. RT puts this out. This is a good news story before Christmas. Top Irish Twitter official departs as layoffs continue. Boom. Now, when you see this person and you look at the head on this thing, you know that the likes of yours truly has been actively picked out, and these people have been like, don't let him back on. So when yours truly is sending in an appeal, and by the way, thanks to everybody, by the way, that's at Elon Musk on Twitter, and that's actually even screenshotting what I was actually banned for. I really appreciate everybody out there that does that. They're at Elon Musk and saying to him, put at the _ Ninja Nui back on Twitter, reinstate him. This is what he's banned for. This is complete and utter nonsense. I appreciate everybody out there that's doing that, because anytime I send in an appeal to the likes of Twitter, you can bet your bottom dollar it'll probably be a lot slower now, but there's definitely some goofball on the other end that's been like, you're not allowed back on because you said stuff that wasn't nice. Listen, I called someone a donkey. I'll tell you that out straight. That's what I did. But what about the fella that told people that James McLean, by the way, should be taking something made of lead? What about that? Oh, he's still on it. Oh, that's fine, is it? You know, and again, there's various other people that are on it, have done very negative things, but yet yours surely ain't on it. But this is great to see when you see one of these people, and again, like I say to you, an unattractive individual being removed from a powerful position and a position of influence. This is something to celebrate. This is great to see. Awesome. Twitter's public policy chief has left the company amid additional layoffs to the unit. Sources familiar with the matter told Reuters, as billionaire owner Elon Musk is downsizing. Fantastic news, guys, and hopefully we'll see more people restored to Twitter from Ireland. Now, Twitter in Ireland has been very slow to reinstate people. The American one seems to be going at a fairly quick rate. But what seems to be happening is Elon Musk, once you get his attention, he seems to be fast tracking these things. So that's why I'm saying to people, if you're that way inclined, to at him and ask him to bring the likes of me back, you can screenshot what I have up there on Instagram. And that's how you return to these spaces. And as I said a year ago, I didn't care with the landscape that was out there at the time about not being on the platform. But now I'm looking at it and being like, you know what, it's actually not bad to cover every aspect that you can, and certainly on different platforms to be more eyes to it now, because it's not going to be like, for example, there's actually a thing that's on Twitter. I know it's on this platform too anyway, for sure, and effectively allegedly that there's a button that they have on your account on Twitter. They showed this, by the way. Charlie Kirk was someone that showed it, and it was a do not amplify button. And I said, well, that's definitely going on the likes of platforms like this, because I've just gotten, by the way, big thanks to everybody as well, 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. Insane. Never did I think when I started this Little Gonzo production, this channel, that I was going to be having 3,000 people subscribe to the channel. That is insane. Insane stuff. So thank you very much to everybody that subscribed. You know, when I got 10 people subscribed, I was like, that's amazing. And for every one person that does subscribe, I'm like, this is great to see. But I've no doubt in my mind that there's a do not amplify, or there's a certain limit that I can't hit, because I crawled, and I'm telling you this now, I crawled to 3,000 subscribers. Now, I have videos that are out there that have more likes and more views than a certain other place that has nearly 60,000 subscribers. So 20 times the amount of subscribers they have. I've got more likes, I've got more views, I've got more comments. I don't know about you, but it seems to me very strange. Children without an education might as well be weeds on the side of the road, George warns mother. A 16-year-old girl had a 100% absence rate and missed all available school days in 5th year in school. This is how the judicial system, well, I shouldn't say judicial system, what I'll say is, again, strike that from the record, what I'll say is, this is how one judge views a child. Because they've decided not, the parent anyway, has decided not to engage with a system that now wants to tell you various different things and wants to introduce things into a curriculum that are going to be talking about untoward things in the future. Now, this comes at the same time that they're telling you that the likes of homeschooling is increasing. And this is how one member of the judicial system views a child. Outrageous stuff. Transformer rights activist Henry Berg Brassau passes age 24. His mother, Kentucky State Senator Karen Berg, said he self-deleted after difficulty finding acceptance. Which is insane, because here's the thing. You've got more TV shows, you've got more public support than ever before. But what you'll do is you'll say, oh, I blame Dave Chappelle. You're in a very much so better place than you were 10, 20 years ago. Definitely better place since the 80s. You know what used to happen during the 80s? But what's happening now is, even though you've got all of this adulation, all of this, I would say, public support and fluffing up, they're still doing this. They're still doing it at a high rate. This is a person, by the way, that didn't have to worry about money. A Kentucky State Senator, do you know how much money they're on? Not worried about money. Oh, it's difficulty finding acceptance. No, it's what everybody else is talking about. They're talking about someone's mental state, because this person is not with it. 24 years of age. There you go. If Irish emissions don't start to fall rapidly in 2023, credibility on climate will crumble. Observers and climate activists stress that implementation is now urgent. So again, the same old story every single time. In 10 years, by the way, have you noticed? Do you remember when we used to grow up, right? When we grew up, right? Now, as you know, I'm a child in the 90s. When we grew up, what was the first thing that they wanted to push out there? And David Attenborough was doing it as well too. The polar bear is on the verge of extinction, and the polar ice cap is melting. And by 2020, there will be no polar bears left, and it will be very, very sad. And the ice caps will just melt, and some places around the world, they will be like Atlantis. Not talking about polar bears anymore, though, eh? Why is that? Oh, that's right, because the wildlife amount of polar bears has actually increased. This is a fact, by the way. Do you remember when the polar bear used to be the poster boy of the climate? The climate is changing, and we don't know if we will ever see the polar bears again. Well, they're after increasing their amount of polar bears that are in the world. So what's the crack now? We're going to tell you that the world is still heating now. Okay, but you tell me that the polar bears were super duper endangered. That didn't happen though. Well, listen, if you don't believe in it, you're an istafab. Huh? What? And by the way, Al Gore was telling us there that in the 2010s that the world was going to, that didn't happen either. What did they used to tell you as well, by the way, when you were in school in the 90s? They used to say to you, in 10, 20 years' time, there'll be no petrol, there'll be no diesel, that'll be all gone. No, it doesn't seem to be that way. It actually seems to be an indefinite source. That's what it seems like to me. I think personally, again, this is just questioning what's gone on for the last few years. I think that there's an indefinite source, and I think that the world, the way it's made up, it just makes the likes of oil and things like that. I think it just makes it. I think it's a natural thing, and I think that that's why the likes of gas and oil, I think that's why they're working so hard against them, because they're like, shit, we've told people for the last 50 years that these things are finite, and do you know what's happening? People are living longer. Not only are they living longer, they're actually telling others, here, do you remember we were told that? You've done it as well. You've sat around the table and everyone's talked about, do you remember they said that? Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah. And that turned out not to be true, didn't it? Can you imagine what it'll be like at a table in 10 years' time? Do you remember they said that? And what happens then is, like little, Gonzo productions like this and subsequent podcasts are going to have, people revert back to it and go, yeah, I do remember that actually. This is why people show up to this stream, by the way. They're like, and I remember what they did here for the last 2 years, and I'm definitely not happy about that. So that's why you should run in elections, by the way. Like, look at the goofball that's over there, whatever, Urimu or something like that. It sounds like something now of Lord of the Rings. Sounds like one of the orc names or something like that, you know what I mean? Or maybe even the names of Rohan, or even Mordor, as they like to say, or Moria. You've got people that are there that are coming over and going, oh, this is the issue, and you're going, hang on here for a second. Anyway, going back to this one. You have these individuals that are talking about this climate, because they've changed the word. They used to say global warming. The world is heating up and they will have no polar bears. Well, that didn't happen. The sea level also as well too doesn't seem to have risen any much more than it had beforehand. And do you know how I know you're telling lies, by the way? Is when Dublin Live put out an article that says certain parts of Dublin's going to be underwater in the next 10 to 15 years. Do you know that Leo Varadkar bought in one of those areas? Now, he didn't buy a canoe. He didn't buy a yacht. He didn't buy any sort of boat. He bought a house. So you telling me, again, I'm not saying that he's not. Are you telling me that the Taoiseach, the Taoiseach at the time, is some sort of moron? Now, again, that's up to your own opinion. But are you telling me that he's so out of the loop that the person that wrote the article for Dublin Live knows more than the Taoiseach? That's weird. Is that not strange? Now, this fella over here is another goof. This fella, 100%. When I talk to people, now they started questioning about this fella, and I just say to people, like, this autism thing seems to have just dramatically increased out of nowhere. And they go, yeah. And then I look at Eamon Ryan and I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on with him, certainly, but he comes out with statements that are totally aloof. Worth mentioning, by the way, his son is actually autistic, so I don't know about that. Anyway, no further comment and no speculation, allegations, or anything like that on behalf of that. But I do find people do regularly comment and make comments towards the channel and say this autism thing has lifted off over the last 10, 15 years, Anyway, that's just as a crazy aside there. Credibility on climate will crumble. The credibility is already done, but here's the thing. When you've got the likes of Facebook, they're already doing it, by the way. They're telling you about the local temperatures. Try it and do that now tomorrow on Facebook if you have a chance. If you're still on it, talk about the weather or something like that, or link in something. You'll get one of the notices, the ones that were there for the last couple of years, telling you that the sniffles are something to be worried about and that the Voldemorts are super duper safe. Go on to Facebook and do that tomorrow and see what they say about the weather. There's a climate thing now that they're hitting you with. They're hitting you with the temperature in your area is rising, and look at what's going on here. I don't know about you, but the winter's been cold, hasn't it? And this winter, by the way, is going to last for another 3 or 4 months at the very least. Here in Northern, winter always lasts in and around till about, I don't know, March. It's always cold till around then. And what they'll do over the next 3 or 4 months is they'll tell you, oh my God, it's been the coldest winter ever. Oh my God, it's so cold. Oh my God, look at the snow. Oh my God, look at the fog. What about the planes that are up there in the air, by the way, that seem to have lions coming out of them? That's weird because not every plane does that. But I'm seeing it with my own 2 eyes that the weather seems to change after those planes that have gone up there and are creating lines in the sky. The weather seems to dramatically change after that. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a pair of eyes in my head and I'm starting to question everything around me now. And here's the thing, by the way, and this is why the normie reaction and friends and family that you know will be wide-eyed. Can you imagine being that person? And some people have been, don't get me wrong, that has been just ambling through life and is now starting to wake up to what's going on. Most people are idiots, right? And what has happened in the last couple of years is these people have overreached so much so that even people that are complete morons are starting to go, what's going on? And everyone is looking. And you and I and various other people that are out there, we're ahead of the curve. You're just looking and going, yeah, I've been telling you that now for the last 2 years. Welcome to the party. But when they're faced with this badness, and don't get me wrong, I've talked to a good few people that have looked at the badness, and it's something actually funny enough. I was watching it not too long ago, Gladiator, and in it, Maximus says, he says, "Death smiles at all of us. All we can do is smile back." And these people are constant panic about what's going on, instead of everyone going, "Hang on here for a second here. Things are cool. What are you stressing about? Why are you trying to start conflict and prolong conflict across the world and then try to blame that conflict on why everything's been rising here price-wise instead of trying to sort it out? Are you not supposed to be diplomats, fans of democracy, interested in peace? No, you want to fund this thing more so?" Pure nonsense. Pure nonsense. Netflix to begin cracking down on password sharing. That's how you know they're losing money. Funeral honours national hero and kind and loving Sean. A little bit of a cough there. That come back on. Hang on. They're coughing into the mic. It's absolutely horrific, isn't it? Hang on there for a second, guys. Much better. I had to clear the throat. So, funeral honours national hero and kind of loving private Sean Rooney in Dundalk. Now, this fella's in his early 20s. And what I just want to say to begin with this is my sincere sympathies to the family. Very much so. This is a tragic loss of life here, and it's shocking to see. What I also think, and being a realist, is I don't understand why someone would put their life in the line, as I said here, for some other country. This fellow was in Lebanon and was taken out in Lebanon. For what? For what? Like, I've spent years watching different movies and entertainment. This is what entertainment does. And I think the likes of George Lucas's Star Wars in particular, Attack of the Clones, and then further stuff that they elaborated on then as well too. Joining a side for a political squabble and this happening, like, is just baffling to me. Now, it's not baffling anymore when you witness what's happened in the last 2 years. And as I said before, there was a fella, I can't remember his name quite off the top of my head now, but he was a fella that was in the SAS. I've talked about him before. A guy that's pretty fascinating. He's actually been removed from the likes of this platform as well too, because again, it was another fella that was a proponent of masculinity. And he was on a TV show and he was talking about him being a member of the SAS and him being in Iraq and Afghanistan and about missions that they went on, and a politician is sitting opposite him and the politician is telling him, "Oh, I was the one who, I pushed the button and sent you guys in, this big fat Jabba the Hutt looking character." And there's never been a more important image that I've ever seen of this guy, this Chad individual, tattoos and the whole lot. You know what I mean? If you're into tattoos, not this Chad individual, fella that's keeping himself in good nick, intelligent guy that was putting his life on the line ultimately because the Jabba the Hutt character over here was involved in a squabble where the country very far away that ended up being about a lie. Like, can you imagine what the likes of Jocko Willink thinks now when they know what's coming out and he's an Navy SEAL and he's like, I was messing around in the country there that I should never have been in. And similar enough here, this is the type of stuff that the media will do. Look at the hero that he is, not that. A hero? Like, I don't know about you, but this to me seems like a tragic loss of life. And it seems to me that when you look at, say, recruitment drive movies with these, which they've done over the years, and you see the critique of that then by the likes of George Lucas and various other people that have critiqued the whole thing. I mean, even the first Avatar somewhat critiqued the whole thing of drafting people themselves into this thing over a squabble to do nothing to do with them. And this is the end result. A life cut short, tragically so. I don't know about you, but this is why you see things like this in the media, and you see them telling you that you're a hero for going to the likes of the country as well with the blue and yellow flag. People being messed up. They're not too long ago, it was 2 weeks ago as well, to another young fella taken out because he went over to the country with the blue and yellow flag. Like, nonsense, in my view. That's just my opinion. Because people have just put themselves out there into the line of sight there of some person in a foreign country that's deciding you shouldn't be here in my country. Like, I don't know. This is why you see things like this from the media. And the constant thing of like, what a hero, because you want more people to draft into this and go to these places and do what's going on over there. Like, this is what world skirmishes are about, by the way. They're about getting people with testosterone, most of them, recently not so much, but people with testosterone. Can you imagine being in, say, 1930s, 1940s version of this world now, and people knowing what their own governments were doing and what they were up to and what they were planning for the future? They wouldn't be going over to likes of Normandy. They wouldn't be heading over to Germany. They wouldn't be doing any of that. They'd be staying at home. And similarly enough, this is what's starting to happen now as well too. When you're seeing the likes of people disinterested in joining the Gardaí, disinterested in joining the Defence Forces, because people are looking at it and going, sure, that's got nothing to do with me. That's like a scrap happening in the middle of the road that's got nothing to do with you, and you decide, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to wade in there. For what? It's nothing to do with you. It's the way I've always lived. If that has nothing to do with me, then I'm not getting involved. It's just, do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable. So again, like I said, my sincere sympathies to the family and to this young lad. And I mean, again, like I said, a life tragically cut short. But what would possess you to do this is just beyond me. It's beyond me. Now I know the satirical soldier and stuff like that being the chat, and I know that he listens to me, and I know that maybe he might give me a different account on what it does and why he joined and stuff like that. And it's something I would be fascinated to hear, because I don't know what would possess you to do that. And especially as well too, I'm sure, I think that's why Satirical Soldier has become someone that I've been very interested in viewing his videos and very interested in viewing his way of thinking, because there's a guy who entered into the Defence Forces, and look at the way they've treated him since he exited that. Look at the way his own people, again, alleged own people, because some people that are attacking him are not of this land, but some of his own people, the way they treat him, speak about him, talk about him. And he's gone out and he's done this and he's defended other places, and then he's been accused of this, that, and the other. I mean, that's why I find his thoughts very fascinating. Their reduction schemes must be very attractive for farmers. I mean, here's the thing, guys. What they're looking to do is they're looking to cut out the likes of butchers. That's what they've been doing straight away with the likes of the bill increases. What they've also been doing as well is now moving towards, you get your food from the supermarket. You know as well as I do that the beef in the supermarket isn't as good as the beef in the butchers. We all know why. But what they're looking to do is they're trying to pay off farmers. Farmers don't do it. They're looking to pay them off to reduce them, because they're telling us, by the way, the farts that the cows are making there are causing all sorts of problems. No thanks. How about looking at the likes of India, which Varga should be very familiar with, and China, and looking at what they emit? Talk to them. No interest in reducing cows here, because you're going to just limit what people have and then limit ultimately what the population have, whilst at the same time introducing people into the country hand over fist that are all going to be looking to be fed too. Like, bad idea. Gateway pundit, unexpected Voldemort's increased risk of contracting this. Each thing raises the way the dance around us raises risk even more in study of 51,000 Cleveland Clinic workers. Now, this is what the Gateway pundit is doing. They're actually putting out data, facts, and statistics. Media, by the way, want to move on past that. They want to tell you to be scared of the sniffles again. But they're like, by the way, guys, the people that have taken this stuff are actually more at risk of getting it again than anybody that hasn't, you know? We said there, everything wrong with America summed up in one picture. Fact. You've got this here, this Grant Wall fella, the brother on crying and saying because he wore this t-shirt, that's why it happened to him. It's not true. You've seen the comments that Grant made himself. Teachers at Temple Oak, this is the next one, by the way. Teachers at Temple Oak College, Dublin, raised concerns about non-inclusive alphabet culture at school and treatment of pride flag in school canteen. So you thought that one issue was just resolved, I should say, in Enoch Burke. They've wheeled out another one. So again, the constant promoting of this sort of stuff shouldn't be anywhere near. I guarantee. No, I'm not even going to say guarantee. I'm going to speculate. Is there a tricolour knocking around the school canteen? Is there? But I bet you one of these yokes is in there. You know what I mean? They've, by the way, changed it. There's now a red umbrella on it as well too. To the people with the rainbow stuff, by the way, it's slowly but surely just been taken over. Now, what does the red umbrella represent? Well, it probably represents, in my view, probably communism. Because that's what they want to do. They want to just introduce widespread communism across everywhere. But what's that doing in the school canteen anyway? That's the first thing. That should be nowhere near that. And second of all, this is the can of worms that's been opened up across the globe. 100%. Been opened up everywhere. And now it's invading into people's workplaces. Here's the thing. The fact of the matter is, you shouldn't know someone's political affiliation or any of the other sort of stuff that goes on here with these things. People are going to this place to be educated, and that's it. They're not going there to be. And what's happening is now they're going to places now, and they've been told they have to be interested in this sort of stuff. They've been told they have to celebrate it. You'll see the pictures out, by the way, in June. You see them all over Twitter. You'll see all of the people out there with skills and out there with the flags and all that. Some of them have even days with celebrating it. Again, when you peel it back and you talk to people, what's it celebrating, by the way? Well, you know, willies and bums. And the other stuff as well too. Corned beef sandwiches rubbing up against each other. You know what I'm saying? So like, break it down like that to people, and people start looking at you going, "Oh yeah, actually, it's nothing to do with people with acceptance or anything like that." Nobody, and the majority of people don't care. They do not care about what a legal age consenting adult does behind closed doors. Don't care. Most people don't. They just say, keep it behind the door and, you know, off it yourself anyway and do whatever you're doing. Legal age, consenting adult. It's when you decide to bring it out in the public now, people are going, hang on here now, there's a problem. Like I said earlier on, Gettr said no to any of this, and funnily enough, zero issues seem to be over there. I don't know about you. Someone was talking about earlier on there, a popular podcaster claims he's been refused nightclub entry due to his accent. On talking to News Talk. You know yourself. Calvin is co-host of a podcast, and he said that he's been refused entry to nightclubs and other places in Dublin because of his inner city accent. Now, nowhere in the article does it say, let's talk about the inner city and how the place has been overrun with criminal behaviour, and particularly with criminal behaviour of people that are not from the area. Have a look at O'Connell Street, for example, and walk up and down that and see what you think, and look at the likes of Tara Street as well too, and see what you think about those areas. And again, have a look at these areas, Moore Street as well. There's been something like 6 videos, I think, in the last year that have come out, and it seems to be certain people, in particular, not Irish people anyway, that are up to no good. And this fella is on News Talk, on the other hand, talking about, I didn't get into a nightclub because of my accent. What? So what? Well, actually, I knew the bouncer on the door, and we actually got in, and we were told to leave the place. Skeptical panda. Doubt. That doesn't normally happen. You know? Ridiculous stuff here. But this is the sum of what's going on in this fella's head and what he's offended by. Do you know what I mean? Were these guys, anybody in the chat that knows, that follows these people, were these guys talking about the last 2 years? Were you talking about the nonsense that occurred? Were you talking about the government level nonsense that went on? Did they talk about that at all? I don't follow these fellas whatsoever, but I've seen people post clips and stuff like that, and it doesn't seem like anywhere they've talked about how a cashless society is a bad idea. It doesn't seem like they've been talking about the dangers of these things that the government has been pushing out over the last year. Didn't talk about that. Didn't talk about the discrimination and segregation that people face with the likes of the passports that were introduced in our own country. But funnily enough, and something that's been said by many people out there, you needed a passport to go into the likes of a cinema, a gym, a pub, a restaurant last year. But this year, if you rip up your passport before coming into this country, you're given a gap from 4 months and a lot of free money and a lot of free threads. Were those fellas talking about that at all? Someone let me know in the comments. whether it be the live chat or whether it be in the comments after this show. Let me know if they talked about that at all. Because what I'm seeing is, and particularly I'm seeing it from a certain production company, I'm seeing a production company that's sponsoring at least 2 shows, or at least producing 2 shows, and they talk about nothing from what I can see. They talk about nothing really. Not talking about what's going on. They're not talking about how your wallet's been lightened, your pension's been lightened, the fact that they're telling you that they're going to give you a 6.5% increase in your pay, yet there's a 15% inflation that has just been put onto the country. They're not talking about the fact that 3% of a pension has gone up, but yet again, like I said, 15% of an inflation has come onto the country. They're not talking about the fact that these people are coming out and saying to you, well, next year it's going to be very hard and, the energy prices are going to rise by 50%. It's all great if that was it. I was refused from a nightclub. Shit. Absolute shit. Bigger things going on than you've been refused from the nightclub. And not only were you not refused from the nightclub because you're actually gained entry to the nightclub, you were just told to leave then. For what reason? I wonder why. Curious, isn't it? Court orders release of jail teacher Enoch Burke. As I said, victory. Good to see that. Very positive. Garda Commissioner expects 200 fewer recruits than government target of 1,000, as I said earlier on. Garda associations have said that reduced police presence in communities has placed them at additional risk of dealing with potentially violent situations. So what's happening is there, as I said before, diversity hires is a very bad thing because most fellas there are going out and going in a squad car. They're like, I'm not going out with the 4-foot nothing young one because I'm going to get hoofed. And that's what happened recently there. And was it Ballyfermot or Ballybock? One or the other anyway. I think I covered it previously. And they're going, no, I'm not having that. So I'll stand with the speed cameras. That's what I'll do. Or I'll pull someone over and ask them about their tax and insurance. Nonsense stuff anyway. That's why people are losing respect for you, by the way, because you're not interested in going out and dealing with real crime. And here's the thing, by the way. I can understand that. Like, that's the sad thing about this. I understand why you're not interested in going out there and dealing with real crime, because you're looking at it and going, why would I take a few belts and ultimately what's going to be done? This person's going to respawn like a GTA character. And I'm going to take a few belts for what reason? Nothing. Well, I'll just hang around the corner and look for people's tax and insurance. I'll do me out. Quadruple time there now on an old bank holiday Sunday. So they're demoralised. They're understaffed now, which is another problem. And this is going to just lead into the next iteration of what they're going to do, which is, guys, we can't staff these people anymore, so we're going to have to draft people in from other countries. This is why military age males, by the way, are being inducted into the country and are being given citizenship. This is all part of the long game plan, because what's been noticed and has been notified amongst the Telegram chats, by the way, is that an awful lot of hotels that seem to be direct provision centres or instead housing refugees, they seem to remove the Irish workforce within those hotels and replace them with people not of this land. So what do you think is going to happen next? They're going to do it in this profession, they're going to do it in the defence forces, and they're going to do it in the likes of teachers. They've already floated that out. They told you, by the way, career breaks are going to postpone. Oh, don't do that. Well, actually, we're going to introduce diverse people from diverse backgrounds, from other ethnicities. And nobody talked about that bar me. You know what I mean? So the same thing's going to happen here. So you have 200 fewer recruits than government target of 1,000. So you have 800. Of that 800, how many are going to pass out? How many are going to actually finish their recruitment stage, whatever it might be called? How many of them are going to stay within the force? When I say force, how many are going to stay within Garda Síochána after a year, 2 years? Not very many, because those people realise real quick. The more again, I'll retract that one. The people that realise real quick that year 1 and year 2, I ain't gonna get nowhere near being able to buy a house on wages, and I'm in here in situations. How many of them are then gonna wise up and go, yeah, no, hang on here, I'm out here now. I'm gonna go over and work for Intel or somewhere like that. That's gonna increase. So you're down then again from 800, drops again to probably, I'd say, in and around 600, I'd say, to just be fair. So you've got 600 people. What about all the people that are retiring? There's going to be more of them, by the way. They're going to get out as soon as they can. So you're not going to be able to replace the people that are being retired. So now you're understaffed even more so. You know what I mean? It's very simple to see where this is going. And this is all by design. All by design. Mobile phones banned from cabinet due to security concerns. That's interesting. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has introduced the ban after security advice. Panic is setting in. And you're seeing a regime become more and more paranoid because they know they're the bad guys. You're seeing people become more paranoid now because they know they're going to be more susceptible in the future. The people getting up to things. Again, I'm not endorsing it. I'm not supporting it, disavowing of anyone that's doing it. But you're starting to see people now that are spending time getting into the voices because they're looking at articles coming out from the likes of the Urinal. They're talking about Gardaí, like this one. What a segue I made into that one. Gardaí take part in European operation targeting online content from far right and East groups. You mean like the one that attacked the Ardèche there of the National Party? You mean that one? No? Oh, you didn't call them a terror one, no? You didn't know. You didn't say that. Said nothing about that. He actually memory hole that story really quickly, by the way. Online content from far right. What does far right mean? Can you explain to me what far right means? It's people who are interested in the law being turned on. They're interested in the borders being upheld. They're interested in their kids being left alone. And they're interested as well too in ensuring that people that are involved in corruption and complete negativity for future generations are held accountable. That's what that seems to mean. Because anybody that you keep profiling with this far right, which you do with everybody, it's, old women, old men, middle-aged men, middle-aged women, children. You keep calling them far right when they're like, hang on here for a second, we're getting nothing in our own country and we're being absolutely trod upon, and you're calling us in this stuff out. It's not working anymore. But to think that the Gardaí are monitoring things, which they are because they've monitored the likes of Satirical Soldie's been publicly talking about that as well. The fact that they're doing that says an awful lot, and it tells you ultimately that the regime is very worried and very concerned, not because what the people are saying is out of hand, but because what the people are saying is true. That's what they're concerned about. They are very concerned about people pointing out regularly, and this is why the citizen journalism is very important. It's important when you see videos coming out of East Wall from average people that are like, who are you? What are you doing in my area? You are not from this area. And you're going around telling us it's East Wall for all, with your kind of fake British accent. Who are you? So when you see articles like this, what happens is most of the public now looking at it and go, well, these people that are in uniform, that are engaging in this sort of stuff, rather than looking at our own government that are up to negative things, meeting with negative people in forums, you're starting to create a wider gap between you and the public. And this is why I said beforehand, it would be a very good idea for senior members of Garda Síochána to band together and say, hang on guys here for a second, what the media are reporting here is totally out of hand. And as a matter of fact, we're working together for Irish sovereignty, and we're looking at very seriously at what these people that are involved with the likes of Klaus, and we've seen Klaus, by the way, the fact that Matty McGrath brought that up in the Dáil and quoted them should be grounds for the Gardaí to go, all right, Grant, we have a way in now to be looking into that now. Straight away. But no, we're interested in what people are saying with common sense, pointing out things that are the obvious. So like I said, this is all where it's going towards, and they don't want you to have a social media account so that you can't communicate, because they understand very slowly but surely, they've started to understand that communication on social media is spreading real quick, and they know that this is happening. This is why that they worked with Twitter. Hazel said it not too long ago. I knew a fella by first name basis in Twitter when any time things got bad. Why would you know a person by first name basis? You had the block and mute button. You know what I mean? And these are little cracks that are being shown. And it's like when you're at the Hoover Dam, or any dam for that matter, and they tell you that these structures are there for a very long time. And when cracks begin to appear, they need to be sorted very quickly, or else it'll just develop, and eventually the dam will break. And that's exactly what's happening now. You're seeing so many cracks in the dam, and it's coming from across the world. It's coming, even there, Piers Morgan Uncensored. I'm no fan of Piers Morgan, but the fact he brought Tay on twice now, and Tay has won both debates, has now garnered more attention for him. You've also seen as well too with Russell Brand bringing Tim Robbins on. Fantastic podcast, by the way. Fantastic video just to look at it, because Tim Robbins, I've so much respect for him. He was like, I bought into this. I bought into a hook, line and sinker for the last 2 years. Well, not the last 2 years, but he said initially. He says when he was in America and they were politicizing it and they were showing you this, and it had to be the Republicans that didn't want to be masked and all that. And he said how it flipped from the Democrats going, absolutely no way should we be doing that, to being like, oh no, we are going to do that. He said, and then it came to the UK and people were like, no, this is wrong. And to his credit, he was like, I seen through it very quickly then when I went elsewhere. And this is why the online world has become to them very interesting and much more upsetting, because you and me are communicating and you're showing things like this, which is ridiculous. And at the same time, you have a Taoiseach now who was under criminal investigation, and the DPP just went, no, we're not going to prosecute him. Is there a reason going to be given for that? No, no comment. Okay, so no accountability then, right? So you've just signaled to everyone that the law's just been switched off, and that some people are beholden to the law and others are not. That's not a good precedent. It's really not. 2 men of Indian heritage lead their nations a century after Irish freedom and 70 years since India cast off the Raj. 2 foreign individuals, though, as you can quite clearly see, and a 3rd foreign individual in Kamal there in America that also hails from India. Is expectedly, allegedly, because she said she's Jamaican as well too. She said she's like 5 other ethnicities, you know what I mean? Can't believe anything that comes out of that woman's mouth. Or that goes in either, because that's how she got to where she is. Anyway, moving on to this one. Jennifer O'Carroll, jailing Enoch Burke serves only to make him a martyr in the Culture W. Here's the thing. It's exactly what it did, and these were these articles came out. This is from 5 days ago, and since then has been released, because the panic was starting to start in amongst the media. They were losing this situation. They were losing it because people were posting, were outside protesting, and ultimately then decided, all right, guys, we're going to go to the school and we're going to protest there. Again, respectfully, peacefully. So they lost that. And so much so that the court had to make some very ridiculous statements, in my opinion, about Enoch Burke. And still, people look at it and go, fair play to him, he should never have been in there. You would be very hard-pressed to find one person that agreed with him being incarcerated. Because in Ireland, and what we like to do here in Ireland, is use whataboutery, and you just go, well, what about Leo Varadkar? What about the various other individuals that are running around doing negative things? What about the suspended sentences that are being given to memo files? But this guy is sitting in jail. What about he works really well there? So here's East Wall. This is a video again. I know this is going to be gone onto a podcast format, but you just have to bear with some of these videos, by the way, because I like to use this as much as possible when we do the way we do things, like showing videos, because an awful lot of people haven't seen these videos. So this is from East Wall, just to give a description. And you've got these people walking around this East Wall for all now with their little pink pamphlets, and they've been confronted by people of East Wall. It's fascinating to see.
These are the people here knocking at the doors. Yeah. I don't even think I'm in East Wall. They're saying they're for the community and they're not. No. Hiya. Why are you doing here? Why are you tying up leaflets in the door? Why in the public place? Can you ask me why you are doing this? Like,
now, I just want to point this out here, because anyone that's listening, that's hearing this as well too, the particular way that the women that are being questioned are dressed is, one is dressed like an absolute lefty, has one of those hats on with a bobble on top of it, doesn't want to be shown, is actually covering her face. There's another woman there that's, how can we put this, is obviously fond of some stuff to eat, quite very much so, and 2 women that are clearly not, attractive, not 10 out of 10s, as I keep pointing out.
Right. So do that's not great conditions for these people to live in.
Yeah.
So why is upon them? He's like, no, he's not. He's like, his campaign is collecting stuff for them, whatever. How's that campaigning for them? If that's the conditions they're living in, they shouldn't be in that building for them conditions, and poor children and women and all.
And I don't think
do you know what I mean?
Are good conditions down there.
Exactly, they're not.
Need to be supported.
Oh, yeah, should I have them coming in great clothes, cars, scooters? So and half of them are not refugees because they've come from England, got on to some of them.
I'm just gonna get on with my day.
Yeah, get on with your day, to be thrown away from all them doors as well.
Now that person, as you can hear there, is actually from East Wall, and accurately describes these people are coming in with a fresh clobber. They're coming in good clothes. They're not coming from where they're saying they're coming from. And these people, what happened is, by the way, here in Ireland, they greatly underestimated people from the inner city. And the thing is with people from the inner city, the large majority of them are not thick. they're not stupid, and they're actually very wise, because they see what they see with their own two eyes and are like, you're not fooling me. And it's something that I've always said about people from the inner city. I've always said it about them, you're not pulling any wool over any of their eyes, because they see what they see, and a lot of them, large majority of them, as I would say, will openly and honestly tell you what they think, and I have to respect that. And again, people in East Wall have done exactly that. Here's Matty McGrath. This is an absolute brilliant thing to see. Before I jump into that, though, I'll just show you this one. Raise the pension age to 68 in Ireland, or face 13 billion hole in old age costs every year. OECD tells government. The government should scrap its commitment to keep the state pension age at 66. By the way, average life expectancy here is, 78, I think, for men, isn't it? 82, I think, for women. So 68 is creeping up there. This is absolutely abhorrent. And the fact that they're just casually spending your years, your remaining years, casually just talking about it as if it's nothing. Meanwhile, these people are going to sit on fat pensions there when they decide to walk away from it. Shouldn't be had. And as I said here, I said stop spending $3 billion on bringing foreigners in, and nearly $1 billion in quotes, foreign aid. They're talking to you about 13 billion, but they're spending 4 in the last year on nonsense. You know what I mean? It's common sense. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll finish off with this video here from Matty McGrath. This is an absolute banger. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it. It's an entire the best video that I've seen emerge from Dáil Éireann in a very long time, because Matty just says it how it is, and he has now named people, he has now quoted people, and to me, when you see the faces of Radgar and Martin just sneering at him, I would say that the pair of them loathe McGrath. I'd say they absolutely despise him. Because when he says things like this, and don't forget as well too, McGrath was likening these people to people from the 1930s, 1940s Germany, and he didn't like that, particularly Martin, with the little head in him, little Mr. Burns head in him. And now McGrath stands up and does this on the 17th of December 2022. Let's have a listen.
That's controversies. I'd like to wish you, Concola, and every member happy, holy, and peace. Except I stepped out with the ball. But the people of Ireland have questions I want answered. I've spoken here on many occasions and mentioned powerful globalist forces who are having a huge impact on the way he's being run. Probably the most powerful globalist are the World Economic Forum, or WEF as it's known, which are based in Geneva, Switzerland, and which is fronted by an individual named Klaus Schwab. This man, Mr. Schwab, has written many controversial books about how he believes the world should be governed, including the Fourth Industrial Revolution, stakeholder capitalism, and COVID-19 Great Reset. Could I get some silence, please? He has written and spoken openly about what he calls the Great Reset. He describes it as an opportunity to reset our world, to create a healthier and more equitable and more prosperous Europe and a future. This sounds fantastic initially, but on closer examination of this cabal, which I call him, it's strange. One of his most famous quotes from 2016 gives us a little insight. He says, and I quote, "By 2030, you will own nothing and be happy about it." He also quoted as saying, "The sovereign state has become obsolete." I remember some of you top people here saying this about our sovereignty recently as well. He speaks about the system, a system called stakeholder capitalism, which he and the WEF see as a replacement for the current financial system, shareholder capitalism. This system is quoted on the WEF website, is one where governments, business, and individuals collaborate. Is a system which would see corporations, wealthy, powerful elites, and citizens being given equal take in the running of their countries. This sounds very like the same, what was Italian fascist dictator Mussolini as corporacy. In fact, this sounds of fascism when he said, and I quote, Fascism is equal to corporationism because it's a merger of state and corporate power. This all might sound like some sort of conspiracy, and I wish it was, but it is not. For Michael. All right, we'll see who'll have the last laugh. God, Santi might come to you. Right. It also, it's not, thank God, no. Thank God. If I could, with your permission, I can call it. There's certain things we can't discuss in this chamber anymore because you're shouted down. We know that. This is all my, as I said, we have several books from Mr. Schwab, and I will quote again from Mr. Schwab at the end of from the World Economic Forum, where he says he's very proud of most of these young generation, the Prime Minister of Trudeau and President of Argentina, and so on. It is that when he also, and I quote him, is that we penetrated the cabinets. And yesterday, and this is from his quote in 2016, I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I would know that half of his cabinet, or even more than half of the cabinet, are actually young global leaders and the World Economic Forum. Now, Taoiseach, this brings me to the nub of the question. Now, Taoiseach elect. Taoiseach, thanks for, okay, funny. You're one and the same. I said I stepped out and you stepped in again. If it's going, it's on the government website right now. If anyone wants to look it up, you will see that the website is being touted as the WF's Young Global Leaders. And can you explain to me and to the people of Ireland, if not people here that want to hear it, why are you a young globalist leader of the organisation, which is obviously looking to destroy the power of the people? And funny, all right. Why are you a young globalist leader of an organisation that sets out to take and destroy our sovereignty and sovereignty of other countries as well? And can you explain to the Irish people how your position as Taoiseach will endure, and how it doesn't present a conflict of interest? Because I believe it does. And can I tell you that the Irish people and the individuals are very worried about this. You mightn't want to know about it, but they are worried about it. And it's WEF members or any other supporters. I did speak to one of your ministers to be today during the week. And he told me such a great conversation. There was no, I rest my case just to.
So there you go. Martin McGrath. That's the type of person that you need in there. You need more of them in there, as a matter of fact. Because when you have people in the Dáil shouting them down and laughing, you start to really realise very quickly how many of these people are lurking around the Dáil and are lurking around very significant positions of power here in this country. You have a very serious problem at hand, and that is you've got people that are running the show, that are sneering at McGrath there. Initially, you can see the faces, if you've witnessed the video there, of Varadkar and Martin are unhappy. They are very unhappy. And then when he talks later on about one in and one out and talking about Taoiseach elect, they choose that as a moment to have a sneer at him, which says an awful lot to me, because here's the thing. They weren't too happy about him pointing them out and who was involved in it. And as he said there, he talks about Trudeau. He talks about the president of Argentina. Funnily enough as well too, what happened there with Argentina recently? Oh, that's right, yeah, they won a World Cup, didn't they? Very strange tournament on the whole. Who else then was lurking around? Emmanuel Macron, he's one of them as well. You've got the individual that's cosplaying as a woman there in New Zealand, Ardern, who's done very negative things, as you've seen from tonight's stream. You've got a couple of people lurking around Australia. Australia is currently as well too asking very serious questions. You've got Bolsonaro that's in Brazil that is facing off against this individual group, or what I should say is this collective group of people that features people like the aforementioned politicians, but also people like the likes of Mark Ruffalo, Leonardo DiCaprio, agitators, actors, entertainers that are in there for a particular reason to chirp at the likes of the president of Brazil. And now very serious questions about the integrity of what's happening in Brazil. Millions of people out in the streets all of the time in Brazil, not being covered at all by the mainstream news, but they want you to be focused on a country there with a blue and yellow flag that you can book hotels in. Bringing it back to the ultimate point though, if you have a group of individuals and they meet in a place in the likes of Switzerland, should police This is why I'm talking to you about people not investigating themselves, and certainly why certain people are put into these positions of power, speculatively, allegedly, obviously, because they're not going to investigate themselves. And the more people like McGrath and other people that are out there point this out and say to people, look at who's involved, look at the books and quoting them, that's what's going to become more mainstream. And nearly every single time that McGrath stands up, he should be talking about that. He should be saying, look at you there, you're in that group, look at the likes of Coveney pretending like he doesn't know who they are, and yet then your own Taoiseach, your own leader of your party there is involved. Says it all. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the comments and say hello to people again and read out the comments from earlier on. So if you've listened to the news portion, and again, when I say news portion as well, too, people that are putting out articles and me just talking about them, now's probably the time to tip out. Thanks very much to everyone that's watched live. Thanks to everybody that watches after the fact. And also as well, too, thanks to everybody like, share, subscribes. Very much so appreciated. And a very happy Christmas to you, to all of the good folks that are out there listening, because I'm sure that there are a couple of people that are out there listening that are listening to this and they're not a fan of it. But a very happy Christmas to everybody out there that sees what's going on, that is standing up for what's right, for truth and justice, and people that want to see such return en masse. Thanks again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the comments now. So, here we go. Eric Madison here says, hi Ninja, haven't been in a while. Great to hear from you. Good to see you. Peter Gray says, long hail Jeremy Clarkson. He doesn't like Meghan and Harry. Yeah, Harry's turned into that soy meme, hasn't he, as well? Funnily enough. What I think is interesting, though, is, and I mean, just as an Irishman, I think it's funny, just as an aside, what Merkel has done to the monarchy. Just, hundreds of years that the Irish faced off against British invaders and the monarchy as a whole, and it's taken one woman who was divorced from someone else beforehand to come into the mix and cause absolute chaos. It's great. All aboard says Ninja and Dart, great combination. Hope you're hitting 180s there, mate. Borova 1014 says how Zelensky foreign guests treated Derek Bloig the other day in Mitchellstown reassures how these newcomers hold us in contempt. Yeah, there was videos out there from Derek Bloig. Hopefully, I'm not sure if he put it up on his YouTube channel yet, but I hope he does. And these people sneered at him as well too, telling Derek Bloig, I Irish, I am Irish. Like, you ain't. No chance. You are as Irish as I am Chinese. That's not happening, man. Derek Man says, lol, I opened the bar at work at 10 a.m. so I guys can get a drink after they finish their breakfast. Good to see you here. Richard McKevitt in here says, happy Christmas, Ninja, and on the chat. Good to see you here. Donald Dunn says, Ninja Night, I've just heard that a large amount of non-nationals been housed in the Crown Plaza in Santry, Travel Lodge and Student Village in Ballymun. I've noticed a lot of them hanging around. Videos are always welcome, especially when you're in a public area. Very important to show people what's going on. Billy the Kid says, a very good evening to Chatterbox and all the fine people here in the chat. Here, good folk. Good to see you here. Derek McManus, if you can speak properly. Enoch is going home for Christmas, and I'd say he has a book based on his experience. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely, 100%. Shane Lynham says, I feel it was down to Ferg and HDL gang outside the school the other day in County Westmeath. The guards heard all the support for Enoch from the parents. Well, like I said, maybe the parents should have joined that protest, and should have been doing that up until now, and that's just my view. But I think probably there was a lot of public support for him outside Mountjoy, and then when it was beginning outside the school, I'd say it was a quick phone call to be like, right, this has to be nipped in the bud here, real quick. Eric Mann says, comment off is always a bad sign. Comment off is usually, we know people are going to vehemently disagree with us here on this and definitely not going to give us what we want. Barvo 1014 says, Enoch Burke was in a cell whilst Chico McCamda was walking our streets. Says a lot. 100%. 100%. Shane Lynham says, our schools need more male teachers. 100% agree with you there. Over 80% female it is. They don't want to talk about the gender inequality there. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the fact that people need masculinity. They need a masculine role model. And as I said before in a previous video, because I've been talking about that before, you have kids now that have, and a lot of kids that are coming from a single parent home because this is something that has become attractive to people over the last number of years, and people have been rewarded, in particular women, in the society that we live in now. for being single parents, and you've got a kid that is coming from a single parent home, most of the time a woman, and then they're going to school, which is an 80%, comprised job of women. So they're going from one place from a woman to having an 80% chance of going to another place with a woman. They're getting no masculine influence. They're getting no male influence there whatsoever. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week for a couple of hours. But most of their time is being spent with people that are ultimately agreeable and are very susceptible to lefty ideology because they use flowery terms to dance around what they really mean. Let's keep going. Billy the Kid says the old strict and wicked female teachers I had that were just about to retire back in the 90s, in hindsight, were the best. Stop. We definitely need more males in high positions around the place, 100%, and actual males, you know what I mean, with testosterone. Mel Talbin says, Ninja Knight, did you hear Andrew Bridgen MP talking in the House of Commons about the you-know-what? I think I showed him last week. I think I did. Oh, someone last week anyway. Shane Lynham says we need you Ninja in the Zod. Oh, could you imagine? Between me and my grad, the laugh would be 90 anyway. It's his Force Blood is a great film. I've loved it since I was a young fella, but I find myself in recent years sympathising more with the local sheriff in the town. Stuff. Absolutely hilarious. Hinden Peter 2.0 said he started well and then sent PJ to St. Pat's. Stop. A lot of people are not a fan of the McGregor as president thing. And yeah, a lot of people are talking about the mental health thing. The mental health is another scam. Hugh Graham once says you sound like Bob Geldof. Doesn't the Turkey for president, as Irish Red, the states need you, or need ye for 24. That's the difference between Ireland and America, by the way. When you see YE, it's like yeah, is what I always assume it is, what they mean, yay. The argument man says, Ninja Knight, to be fair, Gal Gadot, our mutual friend Problem Bean, was in the original Wonder Woman movie and said Gal Gadot was so beautiful he considered going straight. Problem Bean is no friend of mine anymore. He got very upset not too long ago. Very upset indeed. Borova 1014 says McGregor won world title against 10-year undefeated opponent Aldo in 2015 and 14 seconds in the median regime didn't give credit where it was due before he went corporate. Yeah, and that's what's got to be remembered. You know what I mean? He brought a big event here to Ireland, has been trying and has been since the last number of years to bring a big event to the likes of Croke Park and all that. Never was greenlit. They're more interested in going towards Katie Taylor, though, to do something like that. But to me, I think McGregor would have, at the time, filled the stadium for sure. Now, I would think he still would. But it's interesting to see people in the comments being like, yeah, I'd vote for him, and no, I wouldn't. But like I said, look at Bertie Ahern. This is someone that they're pushing. Luke O'Neill. On the whole, who would you more likely like to see in the president role? I'd certainly rather see McGregor than any of them. That's just me. Let's keep going. Art Joseph O'Griff says, I love Conor, don't care what you say. Yeah. People saying Bolsonaro's in the big club, so is Conor, Paul McGrath, Steph Towns, won't even PJ. Yeah, the Conor McGregor thing's opened a nice debate there now in the chat. You can see it as well. Some people are for him, some people are not. And that's alright, absolutely alright. Like I said, we stand on the side of a fella there that's like I stand with people release wall rather than someone that's, as we showed before, Minister for Finance didn't have a bank account, allegedly, speculatively on that one. I'm about Santa in the chat. Hope you have a very nice Christmas in store for Santa. I hope you make sure that you live out the milk and cookies for him. Derek McMahon says, my mate Paul was in Iraq during the war. Didn't have a good word on the Yanks, to be honest. Interesting. Sheepdog says, must be a force. No English arrested at a World Cup Ninja Night. Well, colour me rainbow. Lack of alcohol, big thing, Irish Red says Ninja Night. America is pushing it's pushing all sorts of stuff. Do you know what the Qatar thing didn't do? Everyone knew if you messed around over there, you were getting serious time. You know what I mean? And that's why nobody messed around. And the alcohol thing, here's the thing, right? Sport is created and sport exists for the sole purpose to distract you and for your attention to be somewhere else. It's why like some movies and TV series exist. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy them and I talk about them 100%. And I'm sure like I'm part of that thing of being distracted and I do videos and that now. But I'm no fool, and I would say the likes of Manchester United and Liverpool and Chelsea, where people will have their little, affinities for these places and all like that. It's ultimately to distract you from what's really going on. You know what I mean? Because if everybody had no football club and wasn't interested in that or played football themselves and then walked away and were able to talk with each other and say, hey, look what's going on over here, you'd have a lot more people that are very upset. Like I said, 1930s, 1940s Germany was a chance for them to be able to go, okay, all of you fellas, you're too masculine for here, out you go. I mean, it's not surprised when you see the likes of 1883 and the new show from Taylor Sheridan in 1923. Again, I'm now linking it into entertainment. But Sam Elliott in 1883 is as masculine as they come. And certainly as well, too, from Tim McGraw's character in that, the Dutton character, another masculine figure. Like, those guys were all sent over eventually. Do you know what I mean? To the first one. And then in the second one, further descendants sent over to the second one. Huge masculine population there. We were talking about fellas, by the way, that ran into machine operated things, boomsticks, ran into them off boats. How masculine do you have to be? Meanwhile, you've got guys that are out there, in particular, what you've just seen there with the Enoch Burke thing. You have a young fella that thinks he's a day and is so offended by it, and it's brought a fella to be incarcerated for saying the fact. You know what I mean? It's absolutely unbelievable. But like I said, this is where you start to look back at the past and you say to yourself how hoodwinked people were. And that's why, like, I always found that when they talked about Elvis and they talked about Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, as he's also now, when he talked about them and said, oh, they're draft dodgers, I was like, there's nothing wrong with what they've decided to do because they've decided not to get involved in a skirmish that has nothing to do with you. And that's exactly what Muhammad Ali said. He said the exact same thing. He said, why would I go over to, what was it, Vietnam, I think it was at the time, was it? Why would I go over and have an issue with Vietnamese when I don't have any issue with anybody that's from Vietnam? I mean, perfect. Richard McCavitt says, Ninja Night, there was a woman arrested, strip search and thrown in a shell, thrown into Sean Connery, in a cell for praying alone outside a certain clinic in the UK. Absolutely disgusting attack on Christians. 100%. Absolutely, totally agree with you. Ken Peter made an interesting comment there as well. I'm not sure about. He saw me Derek Bloig on that one as well. It seemed to be Baz woke Derek Bloig up. Is that what you're saying? Not really sure on that one. Not really 100% on what you mean by that. But certainly, Derek was definitely very interesting when that initial video came out. Of him being asked to build places for people not of this land. He's like, well, I give 50% of them to Irish and 50 to elsewhere, and they were like, no, 100% they're nothing. And he's like, well, no interested in me. LGX says, no look on everyone. See you here, man. Lord Tots says, got to run. Have a safe holiday season, everyone. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas indeed. What's the next thing that they want to go with here, by the way? They want to say, oh, it's happy holidays because there's so many different people. Guarantee you by this time next year, they'll be telling you, like, I mean, what was it Mary Lou McDonald was talking about? A community tree. You mean a Christmas tree? That's what you mean. It's a Christmas tree. Blue Grand One says, ladies and gents, going to bed. Wish you all a lovely Christmas. Christ our Saviour is born. All I want for Christmas is our country back tonight. All. Man. Let's keep going. Some comments there in the chat there. People talking about the McGrath situation. I think it's interesting. Eric Mantis Ninja, I copped on to Steve Timothy from day one. Total con artist. There's another fella, by the way, that never spent a day in jail. Just have a look into him, by the way, if you get 5 minutes. Have a look into Sir Steve L. Timothy. See what he's on the likes of the Late Late for. Never spent a day in jail, did he? Weird, isn't it? Weird. 3.5 months there. 3.5 months in jail for not calling a boy a day. But see about Timothy didn't spend 1 day in jail. Mad, isn't it? Arch Joseph O'Griefta says, and that's why you're getting throttled in the algo. Yeah, 100%. I definitely know it. Should be millions subbed and enjoy to cheap back. I'll go away with that. Give me millions. Come here, 10 people I'm happy with subbing to me, let alone 3,000, Mad. Absolutely insane. No, Colin says, hi Ninja Night. Good to see you here. See you here indeed. It's great to see everyone here. I'm had to think that there's been like something like 60 people here in a live on a Friday night. That's insane. Talking about nonsense. actually, though, because I remember Sky Jordan, the fourth lucky when no planes were flying. That's undeniable, Ninja. Yeah, I remember that. The place was sky blue. The weather was great. It was then as well. I think that was a lot of people woke up then, and a lot of people started to look around. I think the luckies are definitely going to be looked upon very much so. I think they're going to be looked upon in the future as a time when they thought they were going to initiate total control, and it just gave more people time to think. People went, hang on for a sec. I think they'll regret it in the future, 100%. They're already beginning to regret it, I think. Leon Curtis in here says, Ninja back down accents, brilliant. Thank you. You try me best, you know. I do give it a whack. Okay. For the chat where it says that Ninja Night as well too. To see some great comment here, and that's why they pick them out at times. Catherine O'Connell says Gardaí have no tax insurance on squad cars. Sure about that. I don't know much. Bravo 1014 says Kelechi from Lagos arresting Paddy for not getting another Voldemort. That's the scenario. Kelechi be holding you down, giving you another one. Look at what's going on over there in China, for example. They've had mass revolts there now, and that's nearly like year 3 into it. You know, it's year 3 now into it, and they've decided now to be like, no, not having it. And wouldn't you know, when that began, the Chinese government were like, all right, guys, it's all done. We're finished with that now. So all it took was for Chinese people to get really upset. It took them 3 years. It's also been an experiment, by the way, from these people, just as you know. It's been an experiment to see how long people would put up with this stuff. What happened here in Ireland, though, was, in my opinion, again, speculatively, allegedly, was when people started to appear protesting outside politicians' homes, that's when they started to change tunes here, because they were like, oh, shit, this has happened far quicker than we thought. We thought people would just called istophobes and they'd go away. That didn't happen. And it was only beginning to increase then. And so much so that people started to look at the opposition and were like, you going to do nothing about this? Okay, you're getting protested too. And since then, it's been uneasy for them because there ain't people forgetting about that. And certainly not you or me. You know what I mean? They've failed on that part. So it's as I said before, it was a gamble on their point, from their point of view. And it's not a gamble that's paid off. Not a gamble that's paid off. Leon Curtis says, Ninja, I've done lots of recordings around North Dublin and the city Kip nowadays. You have, I've seen them. You've done a great job as well too in there, particularly in and around O'Connell Street. Let's keep going here now in the chat. A lot of people don't feel like they have a fair judicial system. Absolutely not. You see a man that's been spending, 3.5 months in jail for nonsense. And I mean, that's just one example. That's just one example of more to come. Like, Max says, Matty McGrath has woken up to the reality of what the government are at. Definitely. And I think what's good to see is more and more times that he speaks up. And I think it's interesting to see him. I think it's interesting to see that he has been talking to grips, which is a good thing. And as I said before, I like Ben Scallon. I do like him. And I like the fact that he comes out with good articles. Don't trust McGurk at all. Not at all. But McGrath has definitely been getting more traction, particularly through grips, which I think is a great thing. And it's good to see grips ultimately getting more traction. Like I said, if you were out there and you're doing the right thing, you know, most of the time, and certainly they do a more fairer job and better. Well, definitely, I mean, a shout out to grips on that one. They do a better job than RTE do. They do a better job than Virgin Media do. They do a better job than the Journal do, 100%. So, like, the more of that, the better. You know what I mean? And that's why I think it's a good thing that they keep coming out with articles and stuff like that, because not everyone listens to a podcast or a live stream or a YouTube or anything like that, but they'll read an article like that. You know, it's very good. I like to see it. Let's see now. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Good time. Dan Healy says, "You're bang on the button." Man McGrath, the only man in the dog that knows what's really running our country. The fact that he's put it down into, like, what happens with the dog as well too is that goes into a transcript as well, so that just remains there now. And I think that was from the 17th of December 2022. So that remains there now. So in future, like when people can reflect on and look back at it, like that's what I would do if I was elected to. And I'm not saying I'm running for anywhere, I definitely haven't, but I would love to see base patriots running for it. And that's what they should refer back to go, hang on here, we're all going to collectively go back to that now and what he was talking about. I'm talking about young leaders in cabinets. Let's look at that. Let's have a very serious look at that. But a lot needs to change. You need to have a new Attorney General. They've also have a new Attorney General now, by the way. They've changed that over. You need a new president. You need president holds the keys to an awful lot there. You need to become Taoiseach as well, which is also, it's incredibly difficult now in a rigged game. Or what I've just looked at as well, by the way, Salty's talking about it. He's talked about it there in America, what they've begun. And I said, how interesting is that? He's talking about vote transfers in America. And he's like, the longer the week goes on and vote transfers occur, people that people don't seem to be interested in are getting voted in. And I was like, that's been happening here for a very long time. It's been happening in a very long time. And it's sold to people as being a fair system, but it's not. It's a rigged game then. You're just giving something to someone else and they'll say, well, I'll scratch your ear back now next time. And that's all that's going on. Rather than force past the post, which is, in my opinion, how things should go. That's just the way I am, you know. People might disagree, and that's fine. But the Americans wising up to that one. I'm like, well, I've definitely wised over a lot of people here in Ireland a long time ago. Sheepdog says, great to see the media panicking and their friends in the Institute of Strategic Dialogue. Enjoy. Watch Gonzo Productions and they might learn. Come here, no media degree here, by the way, at all. Donald Dunn says, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all. Slan. Around said Ninja. Yeah, I seen that. I seen that by the way as well too. I seen Catherine O'Connell saying that new professor going to the moon. Yeah, Luke O'Neill talking about all sorts of things that they can do. This is a fella that's routinely and regularly wrong, and they're still bringing him on. Like, it says it all, doesn't it? And it's one media platform that keeps platforming this guy. He's been wrong consistently, embarrassingly so for you people. Would you not have just put him away at this stage and said, right, you're into the corner there now? You keep wheeling them out. I could make content for days on that on that account. I might end up doing that at some stage. You might be like, look at this guy, you know what I mean? And look at these people putting them up there. Because that's what seems to just sort of move her on. Let's have a look now. People talking about the comments in the chat there. Listen, when you jump in here, by the way, guys, it's never the mods. The mods know what the crack is. They know that I'm very much so open for an open forum and discussion on that. Unless you're an unhinged lefty, then I've no interest in talking to an unhinged lefty, really, to be quite honest, because you're not changing their mind. Like I said before, it's the battle for the normies. The normies are the people that you can say, hey, look at this is ridiculous. If you're someone out there and you're an ardent leftist, you want to change their minds. And again, it's happened recently as well too on Instagram, where people will be messaging on like one or two of the videos or one or two of the pictures or whatever like that I put up. And like from the videos or in general the talking point, and they'd be like, oh my god, you know, and I'm like, you get 2 or 3 comments in and you're like, this person isn't changing the mind, so I'm not talking to you anymore, because you're not going to change it. It's just not going to happen. You're not waking that person up. That person's happy to be involved in the Matrix. Leon Cordes says, Ninja Knight Smoother in here, you better have a box of milk tray for me, a Christmas present for being a mod. Brilliant. Happy Christmas. Let's have a look here. Dan Healy says, thanks Ninja, the truth will win out 100%. Sean Max says, Matty's comments go on public record and available online or in print out for anybody to view under freedom of information. Good shout there, Sean Max, fair play. And very important. Sheepdog says, God bless on the chat, well, except the spoils. Bless Christmas, Ninja Knight, and all the good people. Absolutely 100%. All the good people have a good Christmas. You have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll be back in the new year, obviously, to talk about what's going on. I think I think next Friday is before the new year anyway, so it should be back then. If not, I'll let you know, obviously, through the likes of social media or whatever. If you're following me on Gettr, Facebook, I'm going to make a bit more of an effort on. And as you know as well, too, to be on Instagram as well. Let's just see. Let's just chat there. Yeah. Barvo 101 says, Iho August Nullig Huna Diev Patriots. Good to see you on that one. Cheers. Thanks very much. Got it, Margot. Guys, have a great Christmas. All right, I know it's 2 days beforehand. Have a blessed Christmas. Enjoy it with your family. Have a good one. There's definitely more hope and optimism, I'm sure, this year than there was last year. And, you know, it's going to be interesting for you as well, sitting across the table from other people, and you can tell them this year, I told you so. Enjoy that one. It's always something I enjoy for sure anyway. And look after yourselves. God bless. I'll talk to you later. Look.